We've got our sponsors. Sponsors are there. Aren't they pretty? Lovely. Next. Okay. All right. Afternoon. Yes, we're an hour late. They asked me to move my talk. I did. Fine, whatever. Hi. This is a talk about security and compliance, and it's going to be incredibly interactive. Anytime you have a question, stop me. And when I'm done talking, you're going to be really interactive because we're actually going to do some exercises. Not boring crap. We're going to do some real stuff. Okay? So, this talk is about security and compliance, and it should be simple, right? No. No, it's not. Oh my God, it's not. But that's okay. We're going to make you understand why it's not. And at the very least, that'll help you communicate with the other teams and help you understand what's going on. But first, let's get to the important parts. That's me. Who the hell is this guy in front of you? Well, I've been around the block. I'm an ex-cop, I'm an ex-fireman, I'm an ex-blacksmith, an ex-horse dentist. No, I'm not joking. I have done just about everything there is to do on this earth, and I'm looking to potentially become an astronaut one of these decades, although Stacey Banks is trying to get there first. Good friend of mine. I have a conference that I run, B-Sides Delaware. If you're ever on the East Coast, give a yell. We run it in October this year, November most years. I'm a staff member at DerbyCon, DEF CON, sometimes B-Sides Las Vegas, ShmooCon, all over the place, okay? I graduated from Mach 37, which is the premier cybersecurity accelerator in Herndon, Virginia. I started a startup and shut it down once I realized what was going on with venture capital in this country, which was not good. Again, I've been around the block. I've done it. I started in technical support literally more than 20 years ago, and I've built technical support organizations, run and built security teams. Like I said, done it. Okay, now let's talk about compliance and security. And this is the way that people want to think about compliance and security. Compliance is just checking boxes, right? And security is like this cool thing where we have like magical windows and we hack the Gibson. No. What actually is compliance and security? And I realized I wanted to think about compliance and security about what they do for me. And when I was working in startups, and I still do effectively, there's things called features and benefits. Does anybody know what the difference is between a feature and a benefit?
Benefit is one, feature is something you don't want.
Say again?
Benefit is what you're looking for, feature is what you're trying to avoid.
No. Interesting thought process, but no. A feature is what a developer says, I'm going to build this and it's cool. And a benefit is what a customer cares about. Okay? A feature is I can add an amazing password reset routine, which makes things so simple and full self-service. And the benefit is I don't have to call into the help desk to get my password reset. So that they interlock a lot of times. It's the times they don't that you get these disconnects. Okay? And security and compliance are similar. They interlock a lot of times, but when they don't, you get these disconnects. Okay? Does that make sense? Security is why my stuff doesn't get stolen. Okay? Compliance is how I make sure I can get security, how I make sure I can price risk for cyber insurance, how I make sure that I'm actually matching the breach from company A to company B on an apples-to-apples basis because I know they're all working on a level playing field. Does that make sense? So compliance is important to security. But wait, why is compliance important to security? Because without compliance, how would you go to your boss and go, I need this router, I need this whatever, okay, this new security thing. How would you do that? Because what's the first thing they're going to say? Why? How much does it cost? And no. So compliance allows you to do things like, we have to do this. It's required for this regulatory regime. Hi, come on in.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Late.
It's okay. We expected of you.
Yeah. You started to be late too, I'm sure.
Well,
I like that.
so compliance and security are important because they interlock. And no, Serge, I'm not talking to you. And
Hello, folks. Iron Geek here. Joshua will resume at about the 5-minute, 20-second mark. Sorry for the inconvenience.
The three birds.
Yeah.
Those three birds. Now,
Dang it. You
has
see-
anybody ever played slideshare roulette? Because I can actually do this. So the three birds and the evil company Visonic. Damn it, you ruined it. Anyway, so Mr. Lumberg and our evil boss turn us into these people. Because what they do, hey, come on in. They're the ones that say, how much does it cost? No, you can't do that. Do we actually have a business use case for that? And isn't that a tired refrain? Are you tired of hearing that? Seriously, aren't you tired of hearing that? It's annoying, right? It's frantically annoying. It drives me up a wall. So, why don't we have things that work together? You know, why don't the execs work with us? And we'll talk about that in a bit when we get to our tabletop. So, again, I said that compliance and security interlock and match, but sometimes they don't. Can anybody answer those top two questions? Seriously, can you be? Can you be compliant without being secure?
Yes.
Everybody goes, yeah, of course you're gonna be compliant without being secure. You just check some friggin' boxes and leave RDP open and, you know, dude, you're not secure, right? But can you be secure without being compliant?
Yes. Yes.
It's much harder or it's much easier? What do you think?
And 30 weeks complicated.
Sorry?
Depends on your industry.
That's
And
true.
what the compliance is.
That's also true. But if you have a secure network, is it more likely that you'll be compliant? Then if you have a compliant network, it's more likely you'll be secure. Which one? The first. I agree with you, but that's just a curiosity question. Are they an inverse relationship? In other words, the more compliant you are, the more likely you are to be secure? Or the more less likely, inverse? Are they a correlational relationship? The more compliant you are, the more likely you are to be secure. A causal. If you're secure, you're probably going to be compliant.
No, you've got requirements for two different groups.
I agree.
Right, it's the same, maybe the exact same requirement, but the requirements to stop an attacker is not the same as the requirements to meet what some industries decide you need to do.
Thank you. Well said.
So, Joe,
No, it's beautiful. So you have a significant amount of things that you have to do. And as security professionals and compliance professionals, we often tunnel vision. I see the compliance things that we need to do. She sees the security things that we need to do. I'm just going to pick on you. You're sitting there. It's okay. And we're going to argue vociferously. We're just going to... Because I'm saying I need to do these 5 things. She's saying I need to do these 7 things. And the executives are going, oh, you get like 1 thing each. Maybe this budget year, right? All right. Now, but aren't there open source tools we can use to make our lives better? Yeah, of course. Who here has heard of Security Onion? Okay. And I'm sure some of you have heard of some of these. OpenFizma, Bro's one of my favorites. Anybody here know Liam and Critical Stack? No? Okay, well if you didn't, he just sold to Capital One. So Capital One's going to have a lot of requirements for some new network engineers in the near future, by the way. Hint, hint. And GRC tools, these are compliance tools. The ones on the left are mostly security, the 2 on the right are compliance. There's not as many open source compliance tools. And Algris and Exacta, neither of them is open source actually. There are very few open source compliance tools, so I picked a couple that people might know. Exacta is very, very federally based. Algris is commercial and federal based. So some of these security tools are like Cuckoo Box in the background, there's Bro in the middle, and what did I put there? I think it's Moloch. Is that Moloch? Yeah, it's Moloch, which is actually comes out of AOL. Would you believe AOL's still doing security? They actually do a pretty good job of it. They got bought, but they still have some good security researchers. It's scary. These are some great security tools. Cuckoo Box, if you've never heard of it, is how you, it creates a full virtual environment where you can drop executables and see if they detonate, which is, Cuckoo Box is the reason that malware now takes 48 hours to detonate. Did you know that? Cool, fun stuff. Cuckoo Box is a full virtual environment that if you take executables as they're downloading, let's say, you know, Mr. Wolfgang downloads 15 executables a minute because he's on all those special sites. And
After hours.
So you're compliant.
Compliant, it's outside.
I'm just not going there. That was brilliant.
Oh, I'm not.
And if you're running Bro can take those executables and strip them out of the stream, and you can put them into Cuckoo Box and run them as an executable. It puts them into a sacrificial environment that's very, very sandboxed. And it then watches the environment and goes, is anything happening? Oh, look, we've got malware. Yay! Guess what? That was bad, 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 Wolfgang, bad. And he goes, I know. And he goes, but Cuckoo Box is the reason that malware now takes 48 to 72 hours to detonate. Because even if you put it in Cuckoo Box and it just sits there, and after a day and a half, how long are you actually going to watch it before you let him have his attachment? You know what I mean? It used to be that we'd strip it out, put it in a Cuckoo Box, and let him wait for a minute. You know, his mail would be delivered 3 minutes late. Big deal, right? And even though he whines about it a lot. It would detonate, and we'd know, don't deliver that piece of mail. No big deal. Now it waits 48 to 72 hours, and it looks whether it's in a virtual environment. Malware now looks to see whether it's inside of a virtualized environment, and won't detonate if it is. Really cool stuff. Okay, sorry, that's side rant, I apologize. But,
So what does that tool, you know, I'm an incident responder, and
It's okay.
we use this tool as well.
Cuckoo
How
Box?
does that- Yes.
okay,
How does that tool have to do with compliance?
this is security tools.
Yeah, okay.
Security tools. These are security tools.
I see what you're saying.
Compliance tools are coming up. Wait. And Moloch is a PCAP, and it's sort of like Wireshark on steroids. It's actually pretty cool, and it's open source. GRC tools, they do very different things. This is more, this is from Alvarez, and this is more about connecting to your assets, your asset groups. This feels more like a business-based tool, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay? This is not as much of a security tool, this is a compliance tool, but it feels like it's more looking at the business side of things. I mean, third-party vendors. How many security tools will call out third-party vendors, right? You might be scanning their network, but how many of them actually say, we've got a whole module just for that? Very, very different mindset. So when you talk about compliance and security, teams, tools, ideals,
It's also
they're-
about effort and expenses, which is also about security.
and that actually, in this case, that one is about the effort and expenses of performing the assessments. Because sometimes you're going to charge back to a third-party vendor how much it costs you to assess their network. How many security tools care about a dollar value, right? Not many. Some do, but not very many. And I just wanted to show you a couple of these. I mean, these things, they're talking about remediation, they're talking about, you know, and security tools will talk about remediation, but they'll talk about what to do, not the projects or the tasks for that. Okay? So I didn't go into the security tools very deep because you guys all know security tools, I'm sure. Compliance tools you might not have seen too many of. And this one has some great stuff just in its sort of in its control panels. What's that? No, this is not open source, but this is the best one that has some things that are very blatantly clear. This is easy to show you how it's business focused. That's why I picked this one. And this is a risk register. So interestingly enough, this is where compliance and security really do cross over. Okay? So and this, I wanted to show you this because it talks about the risk register. It actually takes your assets and your data flows and puts a dollar value on them. Well, now that's interesting because if we can put a dollar value on them, we can say, and this is where compliance and security start to do that interlocking I was talking about. Let me put it this way. The data, which we get from him, flows through her to him, to him, to him, to her, to him, and that's where we process the data, okay? Let's say there are routers and switches, whatever, okay? Every router and switch in that path works just fine. This one seems lately to be getting unreliable. I'm sorry. So if it's unreliable, well, we need to upgrade it, replace it, fix it, something, right? Okay. So we're going to get rid of him and hire somebody else in his place. I'm sorry. But it's going to cost $50,000, $100,000, whatever it is. Some of these routers, you know, they're not cheap, right? And what is the executive going to say?
No.
Why? Costs money, too much money, don't have it in the budget. And I go, hey, that data, that's our PCI data. That's $10 million an hour. If that router goes down, we don't have 10 million an hour. 15 seconds and we would have paid for that router replacement. 15 seconds. Do you think we can get a router in 15 seconds? Because I don't think so. And that's what compliance can do for security, one aspect of it. This is where I show you where it's starting to interlock, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. That to me is kind of sexy. Now, not a joke, bear with me. This is kind of the last bit of the lecture. Wait. Said there was tabletops. I lecture first, then we go to exercises. So you have to work together with your compliance and security teams. You have to know what you're trying to do. Why do you care about that router? Do you care about that router as a person? I know you don't. You don't necessarily care about this router. If this router was part of your test environment, all right, it goes down once in a while, big freaking deal, right? But it's part of your production cardholder data environment. Now it makes a difference, right? Okay. So should your goal be to fix the $50,000 router in the test environment or the $50,000 router in the production cardholder data environment? Well, I think the production environment is better. Know your goals. Compromise between each other. Understand the motivations. Compliance is thinking about business. Security is thinking about security. But they're thinking and protecting the data. But overall, you're all doing work that is forwarding the goals of the business. And use the best tool for the job, whether it's open source or paid. Because sometimes we don't have time to futz with open source, and sometimes we don't have money to buy paid. Now, let's get fun. Hi, everybody. Guess what? You, and you sit at a table together. You're the executives.
No, in practice.
Why don't you sit right over there? That's perfect. Yeah, good. Bring your notebook. You'll need it. Other than the executives, let's figure out, I think, you're going to be security, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to be compliance. Okay? Let's have an exercise. Now, what are your motivations? Compliance. You want to be compliant. This is tough. Security. You want to be secure. Oh my God, this is tough. Executives. You want to save money and promote the business. A little bit more than that. A little bit more than that. And I'm going to get together with each team and explain what I mean. But before we do that, let's switch out of this. Let's switch into... Okay. So, compliance. Can you see that, or do I need to make it bigger? Oh, I really need to make that bigger. Hang on. Oh, they're getting like serious over here. All right. I do not have a wheel up. Fine. Compliance. Name me some compliance problems you would find in any given organization. That's a compliance regime. Well said. Well said. All right, PCI. Name me some compliance problems you might run into under, let's say, PCI.
Disaster recovery business continuity.
You have no disaster recovery plan.
No visibility into the data flows.
We're not going to go crazy here. Let's say one more.
Not using SSL.
Good. Okay, security. What kind of security problems would you have in any given organization? What's that?
Yeah, it could be TLS.
Works. We know what we mean. Okay, security. Give me some security problems you might see at any given enterprise organization. Seriously, come on. Sorry? Now you're just copying. Come on.
Future problems with that they lack visibility into what's required from compliance.
True, but we'll deal with that in the exercise. Very well said, though. Seriously, give me some security issues you've seen at your company, another company, read about, whatever. I don't care.
Flat network.
Flat network. Ooh, that's a nasty one.
Over provision system accounts.
Over provision what?
Over provision system accounts.
System accounts. Oh, God, yeah. Huh?
Shared passwords.
That's kind of goes with over provision system accounts, but yeah.
Unpatched vulnerabilities. That's not configuration management.
Seems like we need to do a therapy session here, geez. Okay. Yeah. And executives, what kind of problems do executives have? None. They live in like gold-plated toilets and You know, caviar all day long, come on.
So,
Got a golden parachute pack, I'm ready.
angry shareholders.
Angry shareholders is actually more real than you believe.
Yeah, security has nothing to what I do.
Sorry?
Security has nothing to what our whole process is.
Oh, God.
Security overhead. PR.
PR. How about if I spend too much money, they'll fire me?
Yep.
Okay? So what we're going to do is this. These are our problems. You've just picked your own set of problems. Nice, good job.
Yes.
Okay, so security, you're going to come up with solutions to these problems. I want real-world solutions, a few sentences for each, you know, or one spokesperson, whatever, that's fine. Figure out what you would do for these problems. Make details up as you go along, don't be ridiculous, no, fly with it, you know what I mean? Okay? Compliance, same idea. Make up solutions, come up with solutions to these problems. If you need a detail, fill in the blanks, it's fine. Okay? I want real-world solutions. I want to know what you would do if you walked in on your first day at a new company as CISO, as Chief Compliance Officer, as Compliance Analyst or Security Analyst, and saw, oh my God, we've got a flat network. Oh my God, we have no disaster recovery plan. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You get the idea, everybody? So you're going to confer with each other, and you're going to come up with solutions. And you're going to come up with real-world solutions with real-world costs. If your answer is, I want FireMon, or I want, you know, a whole new set of servers, or I want, you know, 17 million more IP addresses to get rid of my flat network and segment everything off, and 40 more Cisco routers, well, give me numbers. Okay? Give me numbers. Except you're not going to give me numbers. You're going to give them numbers. And they're going to tell you yes or no. And with a yes or a no, you get to implement the yeses. And you have to figure out a way to work around those, because by the end of the exercise, you have to have all of these fixed. All of them. And you guys don't have no problems either. You have problems as well. Do you know what your problems are?
Yeah.
You have many problems, including the fact that there is a dead laptop. I think I forgot to turn off my, my screensaver. Including the problem that there is a number, a dollar amount, that I will not tell you. That if you go over, you lose your jobs. And that's the way it works in the real world. Because at some point, the board steps in and goes, out. Right? Did they tell you when that number is? They might warn you. They go, hey, you know how you bought all that vodka on the last trip? You were pushing it. You were pushing it, dude. And you're like, well, yeah, I had like all these incredible people who were coming to the party, and we had to keep them happy. And they're fantastic customers. Yes, but the amount you spent, I'm just saying, that's a warning. Okay? So you get warned, and then you get gone. So what we're going to do is, we're going to break up into our groups, take 10 minutes, and I want you guys and gals to talk. And I want you all to talk about how you're going to restrain costs, increase the PR, the good PR of the company, and take care of your company and calm your stakeholders down. Go to it.
We've known for a while, we've got some serious deficiencies.
Is it cheating if we have more?
Oh,
No, it's not cheating.
not cheating?
So we should break the
We should be clear.
You can write a plan, but how do you implement it?
Yeah.
But it happens, so I'm not saying that, I mean, it happens.
So that's a precursor
We should all be part of the business now, and we need to do what's our acceptable, or we want to what our recovery threshold is.
When we break those down, we kind of prioritize the questions, I mean, we have data, we have data, we have to process those two.
You have a question?
Some of the technology is terrible.
Right.
So the details, so we need to flesh out the details. Some of the implications obviously is harder, like coming by. So we're going with a nice round number. Let's say that we have about 20,000 employees in our fictional company. Okay, size it for about 20,000 employees.
Yeah.
Sizing the company for about 20,000. Good question. Hey executives,
Yes.
what does your business do?
I was going to ask that. What's our business? Widgets, make widgets.
We make it, so
We make and sell widgets. Do we sell them online?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to sell them online, otherwise it's really, really boring.
Right.
Do we manufacture and sell widgets?
Do we accept
Yeah.
process or store?
Sorry.
So here's what I've heard. It's gonna have one thing to it, the slogan said, but we're, if our goal is to get compliance, right now we have nothing for BCC. So one of the first things is check the skills and what kind of records I can check the box. No one's like, let's get that out. Now we're gonna let some of this shit do business and tech analysis, and then Microsoft Freaks will do that. We're gonna assess it as we're already assessed without that. Just when I come back to the board, I'm gonna discuss minutes how long I can say, okay, we're gonna come back to the board, plan, and say, here's what I propose, what we're doing.
Or are we, do we
I'm sorry, say again? Oh, how many locations? 20,000 employees. There's going to be at least, I don't know, 100 locations, aren't there? Yeah.
Well, let's assume that like the main is probably business. And then, right, that's gonna give you
One second.
Yeah, right, shareholder mechanism. But shareholder.
Yeah.
But we're gonna.
Depends on your suppliers, your
Our
customers.
trading card, that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna expand it. Yes. And then instead of.
Around 6 months, and run a couple teams in parallel. I like that.
Or.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But, so.
And like the cost of bringing in a third party consultancy to help with it.
So we said 6 months, and bringing a consultant to you. Probably like 6 more than that.
We are concerned. Thank you, Congress.
Yeah, well, we want to do it all on offer 12 months internal and no resources. Maybe like $100,000 a month.
Okay, so you're saying we're fairly sure that.
Maybe the internal.
Okay, one more minute.
Or even.
Get all of our IT assets to free.
We're going to update the system. Three-month project.
Before we got in.
It depends on
Is it going to sleep if it shouldn't be doing it?
Oh,
All right. All right. Time, ladies and gentlemen. That was only 10 minutes. Felt like a long time. No, it was like hours. Who wants to go first? You're still working? Realize points. There's no buzzword bingo in this, okay?
There's always buzzwords.
Thank you. I hope we'll
It might not be over, but yes, it's there.
Okay, so of this group, since you apparently are ready, which of you, other than Wolfgang, would like to present? Always take notes. He's got it down.
So I'm supposed to be presenting these.
You're not supposed to be.
You are.
Stand up. Come over here and present. You will be graded, not just on the content of your presentation, but the quality of your presentation.
You may want to move the umbrellas.
Get comfortable wherever you want to be. Stand up, sit down, doesn't matter, it's up to you. Wait for 1 second, I'm going to video you.
10% or 50%. The pressure's up.
I'm not volunteering again.
Okay, you're up.
Alright, I'm trying to get something.
Guys, pay attention.
My name is Chris Brunner. I represent the compliance team. We've got a few things here that we feel we need to talk about for to help the business run and be compliant. So a couple things have come to our attention of the compliance team, and those items are the disaster recovery plan, which we don't have one at this point. We've come up with a couple of different options to present to the board. In one case, we were talking about bringing in a consultant to get us started for a month. Had $50,000, I think.
But it's also in the notes.
Is it? Sorry. Oh, my glasses. For 3 months. Sorry.
Is it just?
Or wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. That is for BCP DI. This is not being planning disaster recovery.
So they'll write this in.
They'll help us write the plan, get the process started. Then we'll have a template that we can basically take to 20 different locations, use that template on the various factories.
So it's more than just the composite spend.
Yeah, there's going to be follow-up from the internal teams. We're up to speed. We consulted the knowledge share that happens there, have the examples,
We're also talking travel for to 20 cities.
right? We're looking at a proposal where we either have this as an ongoing 1-year plan with one team internally, or we have multiple teams in parallel if we're trying to meet a shorter timeline.
Why are we using an outside consultant instead of using our own subject matter experts? Since they would know our business the best and have an understanding about what they use most important and what locations are key. And do we have an assessment to say that we've identified these?
We might be able to do that. Since we don't have a business continuity plan or disaster recovery, we don't necessarily have the expertise, so it will take more time to get people up to speed, gather up the appropriate tools, be able to.
Do you know what kind of investment it would take to scale up our internal staff?
We're talking for 12 months, $100,000.
But they're not going to walk away with that knowledge of the consultant would. Presumably.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question.
So, I feel like financial, to bring in a consultant, they're going to learn our business, and they're going to walk away with our business and proprietary knowledge, and they're going to apply that to their other customers and gain and build their own financial success. If we scale up and staff people in our company to do the work, we're making an investment in ourselves for the long term. No. No, I
I feel like
mean,
she's been asked these questions and
that may or may not be.
I wish I had executive.
Well, didn't we have a Y2K plan to do that stuff?
Right.
I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
Don't we have a Y2K plan somewhere?
Yeah, it's like this already.
it's still not.
Didn't we do this one?
What's that?
It's still not.
They
The finally get into the dumpster.
So
So you mentioned that one thing, we have more.
they're I guess you could call it 3 different plans. So there's a 6-month plan where we're going to have multiple teams, which would cost more. There's talking $500,000 here.
That's to do it quicker, right? The money, the
Right.
expenditures to do it
Right.
fast.
Right. So, do you want to know the work involved? Okay, so we have to do a business impact analysis. We have to identify threats and determine which of those assets are priority. And that's what we're going to want to focus the planning. We're gonna wanna determine acceptable downtime, develop the various recovery strategies, so we'll come up with example crises, incidents, tornado versus fire, etc. And then propose and cost justify. So backup systems are going to be critical to this. We may have to expand backup or whatever. I can say, well,
So if we don't have a disaster recovery plan, but we do have backups, is that what you're saying?
yes,
So we don't have a DR, because continuity plan, but we are backing things up.
right, right. So
Since we don't have the DR, BCP, we're not testing.
Well, right, that's the next question, so how good are the backups? Like,
Yeah.
are they for file restores, or are they for, system non-commercial? How do we, how good are they? We know how good are they?
So why did we go first?
Because they're just getting warmed up with that.
Can you tap us again?
Right, can you tap off? Yeah.
So let's break character for a minute, guys. Let's break character for a second. This is what really happens and more at a really good executive meeting. At a really bad executive meeting, they do things like, do we really need that? Is that like necessary?
Why is your cake plan, man?
Do you know what gotten that?
Yeah, I do. You just gotta go.
So this is not a hard one. These are actually being friendly.
Yeah.
These are friendly executives. The unfriendly ones get unpleasant. Okay? I have been in meetings where I have been wondering where my nearest weapon was. Okay? Like, it had that, like, visceral, when the hairs are standing up on the back of your neck, and your gut's clenching, and you're like, okay, I can make that window, throw a chair first.
Have a fire flight.
You
So,
need to throw a glass breaking pen.
keep going, but you're doing well. Take a breath, and no, you can't tap out. Remember, normally, they would be there.
Yes.
So look at them.
Okay, so
Backups.
yes, as far as I know, the backups are tip top. What we're building into this is.
So it's the, as far as I know part that I haven't. Yeah. What was that? So we. Yeah.
It wasn't something that we actually talked about, so for this, I'm saying backups are working and they're fine, but we're not actually testing them on a regular basis.
Okay.
We haven't gone through and tried to restore a system from the backups and get it to a current state, so to speak.
So it sounds good that we got the basics in place, and it's going to cost us $500,000 to strange scale.
Yes.
I think the one thing that's interesting is you talk about taking out character and how executives normally act, is the thing that's not coming out is, you guys had a $1 million, $2 million, whatever your budget was last year, why can't you do the same stuff? Or why haven't you?
I guess the presumption on my side to answer that is that if it were within the boundaries of your budget, you need to be.
Right.
So you're in front of us to ask for money because you can't do it with the budget that you have. Or is that?
This is not normal budgetary review. This
This
additional
is
expenditure.
This is budgetary review because, your point is well said. You had $1 million last year. Why couldn't you just do it? Because it comes out. Anyway, but on the other hand, it's also, so it's extraordinary expenditure, extra expenditure, or budget raising, depending if there's recurring money that has to go out, whatever. But it's also on the lines of,
Transformation change?
we're moving from a non-compliant, non-secure state to a compliant, secure state. So what does it cost to get from A to B? And sometimes it costs a lot the first year and not much the second and third and fourth and fifth year. And sometimes
Mines have it really easy because what you do is you say, you're going to have an external federal auditor in the next 6 months. You're going to have a PCI auditor. You've got to have a vulnerability scan every single quarter in order to stay compliant. These are the reasons that we need.
And compliance, is it easy because of that?
It's easier than the security part.
Okay, so let me answer the question. Let me play executive for 1 second.
I believe it.
more subjective.
No. Let me play executive for 1 second. How many times do those auditors actually go to those businesses? I mean, have you heard of those auditors going to those businesses in the last year? How many times have you seen it?
And we're finding out.
CI requires that you go through an audit.
Yes.
But
But
we
so
can get a waiver for that.
we can get. Okay, never mind. I don't have to play this. You got this.
Or we can self-certify, right?
Right, because we're self-insured.
Yeah,
Or cyber insurance power.
right.
So the answer to your question is, compliance doesn't have it easy. Compliance has it hard, just as hard as security does, in its own way. Because, and as these nice, amazing ladies and gentlemen are talking about, they're going to be like, and I've heard everything from, well, how often do you actually get audited, to, can you just sign off on something, to,
Can we
I'll
accept the risk?
just sign the report and accept the risk. Look, I used to work for White Hat Security, and this is 10 years old now, so I'm out of any NDA. And so White Hat Security used to have a feature. Adrian, this is working real well, thank you. White Hat Security used to have a feature where it would say, oh, it's working beautifully, man, thank you. Where they would say, they had an accept risk button for every finding, okay? And because they would say, if you accept the risk, you can accept the risk, it's okay. So what would happen would be that, the auditor would be showing up in 3 days, and they'd pull up their scan and see the 15 vulns that they had, like serious criticals. And, somebody like Wolfgang, not that Wolfgang would ever do this, ever, would just click accept risk 15 times and say, look, clean report. We're good. And it's, no, that's not correct. They actually have to remove that feature. No joke, seriously. So compliance doesn't have it as easy as you think. So let's continue.
Okay.
This is good stuff. This is awesome good stuff. Keep going.
I think they may have it easier when it comes to getting the attention. I'll give you that. From a compliance standpoint, I think that the
I'm just
executives,
speaking from a
yeah,
kind of a PCI
Yeah.
standpoint, and I come from a relatively small company,
Okay.
maybe 200 people.
Okay.
We produce software that has to be PA and DSS compliant, and that I know that right now we have to have pen testing every year.
And it's going to switch to twice a year in about a month,
Yeah.
2 months. Yeah. But quarterly is it twice a year? I can't remember.
And that what happens
Twice a
is that every 3 years we have someone come in and basically say, yes, you're doing everything right. I see lots of security problems with compliance, but I just know that when I'm speaking compliance to the senior execs, and I say, you can do what you want, but we're paying this auditor to come in, and we're going to pay them $50,000, and that we have 2 chances to get this right, and that what happens is that we have 6 months between the first audit and the second audit, and that the cost of doing that remediation between the first audit, if we fail, and the second is going to be huge. So are you willing to accept the financial risk?
I think that the executives, as a broad sweeping generalization, understand the language of compliance better than they understand the language of security.
It seems to be like more subjective because the security side was sort of objective because you've got written requirements that must be met. You're either accepting those risks or denying those risks, and you've got measurable amounts that you must meet.
Oh, no.
And there's
DSS assessments, and I went behind the QSAs. I'm like, we can't do that, you can't do that. Well, our QSA told us it was okay that we did all.
Well, that's misinformation.
No.
Interpret those
It's
people?
interpretation.
It's interpretation. There is massive interpretation
There is some.
latitude. But let's,
if I was to say, well, this is how we've always done it, it's the network that was built, or the jumping in arms, for Flat Network, making that argument that we have to do that, you have a regulatory body and you can say, this has to be performed.
Yeah,
Or there's actual consequence, like the consequences are more concrete for the executives, that if we're not compliant, we can't accept credit cards as payment.
well, no, that's not true. Because the first thing that's going to happen is for PCI it's going to be, well, we're going to start finding you. We're going to find you 20,000 a month, then 50,000 a month, then 100,000 a month, then 500,000 a month. And at some point you go, okay, the calculus of that is that at 6 months I should finish everything, because then it costs more to get fined than it does. Or I knew one company that was getting $500,000 a month fines and did that for 3 years because it was cheaper than remediating.
There's an entity that did that for NERC-CIP. They refused to follow the standards of NERC-CIP V3 because it was going to cost them more to stand that program up, and they built the security and the compliance to their SOPs, but they didn't have an actual one throat to choke department,
Right.
and they were fined by NERC and FERC for doing so. But it was cheaper. The fines were big.
But those fines, what's going on with the compliance, the fines are, there's an actual hard thing that's going to happen. Whereas with security, it's like, we might get breached.
Right, exactly.
There might be a catastrophic data leak.
But then there's the subjectiveness in security of what is my threat? Unless you do a formal risk assessment and you're right on every variable, and who here will tell me that they've been right on every variable in a formal risk assessment? You're a liar.
To that point, even if you are right, even if you run it just
Things
level,
change.
right? And if you say it's with 1 in 10 shots, and they'll go 3 years without it happening, they're going to be, well, wait a minute, you said it was a
1 in 10 shot.
I don't know why we're paying for this.
But going back to the fines being the consequence, they're negotiable for NERC-CIP and probably Sarbanes-Oxley to a large extent. These are negotiable things. So people talk about what's available for punishment for SOX, or NERC-CIP, I think is, what is it, $100,000 a day per incident per day for duration to that effect.
Yeah.
Something, it's 100,000, something like that?
I think
Million?
it's
Something.
It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
yes.
But
Many
one,
zeros.
how many times has that been enacted and enforced? Where's the teeth to the bar? And it's going to be negotiable anyway. If you have a legal team, you're going to be invest in your legal team to reduce those fines so that you can draw out your, the ROI or the determination about when to implement.
I think the other issue becomes is when you're explaining something to the board, I am not the level you're at, I'm not at the ground, I am a very high level business director. And we as IT folks tend to talk IT compliance, to which I just glaze over and go kill me now. You have to explain the program.
Show me the money.
Right, and you have to explain what risk I'm going to be assuming if I don't allow this.
And is it personal or is it professional?
So let's stop for a second. Let's stop. Oh, yes. So, did you hear the languages that you're all speaking? You're speaking different languages. Personal and professional risk. Personal, professional, and business risk. Risk and high level. Compliance to regulatory regimes at a technical, in the trenches level, but with enough of management and managing to give it a blaze of high levelness. And we haven't even heard from you yet.
Lessons learned back there.
Now, are you happy you're going second?
Yes.
Okay, shut up. So are you kidding me? I've got Visio rolling right now. Hang on. I've got Nessus scanning the network with the passive vulnerability scanner, giving me a diagram. Oh. Okay, so are you done with your compliance requests? Sure. No, seriously, are you?
We have another option, I think, right?
I think you did disaster recovery plan. You haven't even touched. Did you touch the visibility into the data flows?
No, we didn't touch that.
Did you touch on TLS?
We touched on it, yes.
Two of them.
So, can I?
Yes. Come on, Wolf, give him a hand.
As part of the DR process, we are going to solve the data flow process.
Right.
Which means you board are going to see the synergy of this effort taking care of two different compliance things.
Yeah, I was like, bingo.
By the way, this thing's
Outside, right outside. Okay, so let's do this. Let's say that we're finished with compliance. What is the price tag? Have you given them a price tag? Do they know what it's going to cost them?
Yes. You gave a couple of price tags, but you haven't actually covered, you mentioned downtime. How much do we lose during the downtime, and how long is the downtime?
Well, that's determined based on the assets. So if we can't sell widgets, how much money would we be losing per day?
Yeah,
Okay, it's $100,000 per day we use.
How many days?
If you have 20,000 employees and you're only making $100,000 a day, you got some really shitty sales. Try again.
It's $500,000 a day.
Okay,
You're really close to crappy sales there. Add a zero. What does a 20,000 employee company make a day?
Partial downtime.
Is it volume?
We lose money on every sale, but we make it up in volume.
That's right, that's right.
We have several rounds of venture capital coming in, so
We're an
Not these
employee
days.
operator.
Venture capital and then we're gonna kind of shake hands.
What we're gonna do?
Shake hands.
Not these days, trust me. Okay, so do we have price tags, guys?
So, yeah, you,
So we're gonna lose about $3 million a day, plus you're asking.
How much downtime is that? How much downtime are you telling me?
Well, we need to establish what the acceptable downtime is as part of the disaster.
Executives, what's an acceptable downtime?
none.
Oh, then we need a hot Then based on that parameter, then we need to spend more money on our backup solution.
That's exactly
Oh.
why I came to talk about
Right.
it today. And you can see what a bargain this is at
Good save. Good save.
Right.
Okay, so have we gotten a price tag? Have we gotten an understanding? Do you have any more questions for him?
So I have three options were presented, right? I have a price tag of 100,000 to 500,000. What are the other two price tags, or all three options fall in the same budget?
There was an option of bringing in a consultant
And
to
you
help
said that
start
was
the process out, and that was going to be $50,000 for a month.
Well, 1 month.
I think. Does that sound
Or 12 months for $100,000.
Not numbers. What's that?
Or we get trained for 12 months for $100,000.
Yeah.
They're training the
Staff.
internal people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
staff number.
Right. So if you wanted to go with the consultant, it's $50,000 for the consultant. We get our own internal people up to speed. We have example GRBCP plans, and then we can either have two teams working in parallel to speed up the compliance, or we can extend this out for a year with one team.
Okay, so do you guys understand what he's talking about? Does it make sense to you? This is the executives. Does it make sense to you as a plan? And can you evaluate the options against each other logically and legitimately? Okay. You done? You're done. Stand up. Thank you, sir. You actually did very well.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, by the way. This is, I'm getting such a kick at it. I'm having so much fun. Normally it's the speaker that's like, oh my God, I'm sweating bullets. Now I'm making you guys do my work. This is awesome. But I got to tell you a story. So I told you I graduated from Mach 37. Mach 37 is a startup accelerator. It's effectively like an entrepreneurial MBA. Okay? One of the things they do there, you bring your company in and they give you money, they take a portion of your company, stock and all equity, and apparently I'm not moving enough. Anyway, they take a portion of your company, they give you some money, and they give you 3 months of intensive training. Part of the training is after a little while, you start with what they call murder boards. Okay? Murder boards are where the partners of Mach 37 actually sit down as a company. You've got a CEO, a CFO, a CTO, etc. And you walk in and try to sell them your product, and they just destroy you. Okay? They will interrupt each other as well as you. You have to answer all their questions. Most people, I'm not joking, most people cry. Men, women, doesn't matter, they cry. Okay? I've seen Marine veterans come out of there. That was tough. Like, was it tougher than getting hit by that IED? Yes! The IED, 1 second it was over, they just kept going! It's terrifying. You're getting a tiny fragment of that, just FYI. So this is funny as hell. Hi, guess what, guys? Who's up? We are. Fantastic. I'll let you guys do that. Come on.
I work in tech.
No.
Feel himself, then I'll number us.
Yes, I can. Try again. So, go sit down. Go sit down. You're up.
Yeah.
It is normally one single representative. This is not arbitrary. It's normally one representative of your team that gets to present. I mean, Wolfgang, how many times have you been in front of a board of executives like sweating? Just way too many times, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, our problems are flat network, over-provisioned systems accounts, unpatched vulnerabilities, and a lack of configuration management. Any one of these is unpleasant. All of them is god-awful nasty. Okay?
Yeah.
It's basically complete lack of security. Yes, that's correct.
Disregard.
All right, you're up.
Hey guys. I'm a member of your security team, which we're lacking in badly. So we have a few problems that I'm bringing forward today to see if we can mitigate a few of them. So we have a flat network, and essentially what we want to do is it's where everything flows into one. Everything is connected in one way. Nothing is segmented, nothing is secure on its own.
But can I still get to my cakes?
Yeah.
I like watching games and if you do that.
Oh no.
Wait, what do you like watching?
Cakes. If I can't get to my cakes, I can stick them to the network. I just.
Oh, do you like cake wrecks? Oh my God, that's just funny. Anyway, go ahead.
We won't lose any of our current usability.
Pretty sure we already get tons of complaints about that.
It'll just make us more secure.
Are you gonna be able to fix it so that we can do their jobs faster?
We can hire different people.
Oh!
So can we.
We can hire a different security team
Right,
too.
that's what I
They're
meant.
gonna say the same thing though.
And you already said that the team's bad, so.
Our security is bad, the team is not. We don't have the budget or the manpower available to do the things we want
We already funded you $1 million write-up kind of budget.
because we need to implement these things. We need your sign up on it first.
Why just spend $1 million?
That's what we want to do. So let's get to the cost. The cost to mitigate the flat network would be $300,000, which is some of that million.
What do we get to $300,000 after all those are fluffy network?
A fluffy network?
Lumpy?
I'm stealing that. A fluffy network. So how would you, what would you be doing with that $300,000? I'm not sure I understand.
We would be buying switches, and we would be implementing VLANs to set it.
How much of that is hardware and how much of that is people?
All of that is hardware. It's 10% maintenance for 1 year, and we have to be.
Do we have to train them?
Yeah. We also have no downtime. We'll do it during non-business hours.
We sell widgets 24-hour.
20% of the operation.
We'll have to do it on the weekend. Or during a normal sale hours.
7 days a week, 24/7.
Normal sale hours.
Speak up, by the way. Sorry, speak up, guys.
Yeah.
Why don't we take in takes attrition out naturally instead of doing this holistic changeover? I mean, we've got pretty good progress pushing that.
It's functioning fine now, but if we wait any longer, we open ourselves up to more.
I would just buy it, look at that, and just slap it in.
Can you speak up? I apologize. It's hard for everybody to hear.
If we wait until it dies, we have more possible downtime than just taking it down for a little bit to implement the new hardware.
So I'm concerned more about if once you start the process, whether there's downtime or not, if you run into problems that you can't correct and have a plan for how to go back into business. How do we ensure the operations of the business based on the downtime, whether it's over a weekend or whether it's, no matter what the window is. When you start the work, how can you be assured that you can come back and there are problems that you can't solve and don't know about?
So what we can do is we can build up as much as we can separately from taking down the actual.
Well, learn to project if you want to be in executive management. If you want to be a CISO, you've got to learn to project.
So what we can do is we can build as much as we can separately from our actual network and then implement pieces at a time. It's not necessarily.
Sometimes you just feel like you need to go for a step. That's where
Wow.
I'm agreeing.
So, all right, so that makes sense. approaches, and is there a determination and a commitment to the best path to ensure that we're refreshing the network for the security concerns that you brought to our attention, but also ensuring the business is able to function on when they come in or when it's necessary for them to do their job?
We'll do the testing when we do the attrition of the software now.
So it moved from a complete changeover to a refresh as things die.
But that doesn't solve near-term, all the security problems, the attrition.
Security giving that.
Make us work slower. When are we going to change the password complexity?
I've never heard that comment before.
Okay, yes.
What was the next problem you got?
The next one is,
And that's your only solution for the plan network.
yes,
Why
that's
not
the
change
cheapest.
the single zone product? Because no one information that's
You're just evil. I love you.
So are we just talking?
I heard about the cloud.
This is place.
Wouldn't the cloud make the network fluffy?
Right.
That's what all those things we got.
Right, that's why it's always the cloud. But I understand.
Amazon?
Yeah.
Part of our manufacturing process requires us to have PLCs or machines that run our operations. Each one of
Are
those.
you in the room? You're right. They did help. So I let him know a little bit.
I just want to know how they go.
Right.
You guys.
But then you do a higher amount of the state network, but then there's outsourced components. We're not talking about the state equipment, it's about the split. Right, well, that's what I mean, it's staff segmentation, which is what we're trying to solve with segmentation.
Everybody needs to speak up just a little bit more. I apologize.
You're getting awfully demanding.
What's that?
You're getting awfully demanding. You're getting awfully demanding.
That's it! Yes! Okay, so we've talked about the flat network. I'm going to move this along just a little bit. We've talked about the flat network. As executives without significant technical knowledge, do you believe that you understand what she's talking about, her plan to mitigate it, and the costs there?
No, I don't understand the benefit. Why are we doing this? What is the realization from a business standpoint for us to unflat our network?
So if we don't change our network as it stands today, we face possible risk from vulnerabilities that we have. The network as it stands today is very vulnerable. We're non-compliant with certain compliant regimes.
Which one?
Which compliance tree?
We don't know
Ah,
exactly.
guess what? She's getting a lifeline.
Right.
Come here. You're going to help her. Come on. She gets a lifeline.
Right.
You're saying that buying the switches and opening up so we're no longer flat network to a bumpy network. Doesn't that open up
Fluffy. I like fluffy.
opportunities for us because we can add more areas?
So that's another issue.
And if so, how much is that going to cost?
Exactly, change the support costs and premium. But we're still trying to understand the compliance requirement that requires us to have an unflat network.
PCI requires that all cardholder data be contained within one particular segment.
So are you suggesting we're just going to continue that one segment? Or,
Well, containing one segment or containing 20 segments is going to really be the same cost.
so if we're going to do one segment,
The cost is going to be relatively the same for doing one segment for PCI and one segment for the rest of the company, or we can actually leverage security by having each particular division of the company in a segment. And then what happens is the cost is just about the same, maybe 10% more for two segments, as opposed to 5 segments. And I'm recommending that you go with 5 segments because the PCI every 3 years becomes more and more stringent, and their scope is increasing, and that within the next 5 years, which is still within the life of this switch that we're proposing, we will be compliant for the next 5 years if we go with this.
You don't feel built for the long term, with the understanding of how the progression of compliance is going.
Yeah, and basically, you know, we get the capital cost appreciation over the 5-year period.
Okay, but when we're into this area, we've got to have discussion.
Okay, everybody pay attention.
Well,
Pay attention.
what happens is that your compliance people have already got your approval for the backup program, backup system. And then what happens is that when we're implementing this, we're going to be able to actually leverage the disaster recovery by creating reliance on this backup to actually continue the business.
We also already have an issue of unpatched vulnerabilities. So, that's true. So we actually don't have a way to patch them as it stands or audit them.
Turn on Windows automatic update, or takes care of it.
That's what an exec would say. She's absolutely right.
I can see a horn.
Right.
She's like, yes.
But that's what an exec would say, because that's what they know.
That's absolutely true, but we're operating on a little larger scale than just a home computer.
You just totally dissed her and told her she's an idiot. Nice job.
Sometimes it needs to be said.
That's what normally you'd be sitting with a box in your hands, and all these plants poking out the top, you know?
You can do anything you want, I know,
Actually, it's a great idea, except for the fact that probably at home you have a couple of kids with needy laptops, and that if you have to go around and patch each one of your child's and your spouses as well, then this takes a lot of time. And then what happens is that multiply this by the number that we have to do. What happens is that this has a significant manpower, person power issue. Sorry about that. Oops. What happens is that we, with this automated system, we can really save, you know, maybe 5 FTEs.
Which 5 are you gonna let go?
No, but you're not currently doing updates. You're not currently doing updates.
No.
Selective intent from an executive standpoint is I understood the context of the question, but I heard saving 5 FTE regardless of what was in front of it.
Well,
Is she a plant?
no,
So-
yeah,
I'm just lucky as hell, is all I gotta say.
amazing.
your question is very
Yeah, we
good.
can
But
offset the cost of
what
that.
you've got to understand is that currently, the reason that we are not doing the vulnerabilities is that we don't have the staff to do this. So that we need to get the vulnerabilities patched and continually patched.
How many more people do we need to hire?
We don't need to hire a lot of people, because what we're going to do is we're going to automate the process so that if we were using your home example, we would need 5 FTEs. But what happens is that with this automated system, we can use 1 FTE, save.
So what I heard is that
I'm
we're going to
just
save 5
having so much
FTE, not
fun.
enough here level.
Is this, are you happy you waited?
So.
Wait.
Yeah,
that's
okay,
what
my
I-
math is.
yeah. So,
Okay.
FTE.
You got 3 minutes, let's finish up.
Yeah, so that's a
Okay.
sum of 100 cost of FTE.
What's the total cost?
50K per one person.
50K for one person.
That's cheap.
For one person for a year?
They're just an analyst looking at a vulnerability scanner.
So what's the burden on that?
Oh, I can.
50K for one, wait, I call bullshit.
Yeah.
The one help desk analyst?
No, help desk and analyst are two different people.
Yeah, you're looking.
And by the way, if they're a contractor, double their, you're going, oh, I paid 50K for that. No, the contractor charges you 90 to 120K.
We're gonna hire one of our sponsors, he said.
Wolfgang charges like 300K.
That was good.
Yeah.
And then you have that compensation.
So we're gonna say one analyst really across the project.
We're trying to mitigate security concerns, we use open source, now we're just opening ourselves up to higher level risk.
Not necessarily. Open source
She is-
allows everyone to check.
She got me, holy crap, thank you. You're awesome.
Was that ready to take that to my job?
And, I'm looking at, we've got 27 different software providers for just one in manufacturing. Some of those vulnerabilities, the companies have gone out of business. What do we do with those?
We're going to make sure we patch them.
How easy do we have to move over those?
So we're gonna patch.
So how are we gonna determine which one priority?
That's what the vulnerability scanner will help us with. So it'll assign risks based on past happenings and the current possibility of exploiting that vulnerability.
So are we gonna get that legacy database, we don't have vulnerability exploitation, they'll go into the risk.
We'll be able to buy it.
How much is that gonna cost?
But it depends. We can use the open source vulnerability scanner. It may come with a database. We can also tap the information security community for other databases that maybe they may be willing to give us.
But wouldn't they just like to exploit our vulnerabilities? Because you don't know the people that you're tapping into the community for. So they're posing as a security professional, but they're going to introduce malicious code into our system.
Which is what an executive says, by the way, that was well done.
Into the open source vulnerability manager or the actual vulnerability database?
Anyway, so I'm saying that you're talking about trusting a community that we don't have a relationship with, that is based on trust, and we don't trust in those situations.
So that's why open source is good, because the entire community can verify. It's not just that we're trusting one person, we're trusting hundreds of millions of
I think you're overly optimistic about the pricing. And therefore you lost a lot of credibility. Sure. So this is perhaps a little bit off now.
Okay.
Oh, I had it.
Pretend we have 30 seconds left. Give us, fix that all over, our total cost.
Well, we changed the cost of the unpatched vulnerabilities to 160K.
Flat network, over provision system accounts, unpatched vulns, and lack of configuration management. And by the way, number 3 and 4 go together. I gave you guys that.
It's $500,000 not including maintenance
Not including maintenance. You said maintenance is 10%, right?
for the flat network.
So it'd be 500.
50K after year.
Did you say you were not gonna look at the vulnerabilities?
Where?
You are.
Okay. Guys, I'm going to call it for this one. I'm cutting you off a little early. I apologize. You did very well. Okay, go back. Now, well done! What's your name? I'm sorry. Have you ever sat in front of executives and other board?
Yes, my executive swears a lot, she's a very individual person, so it's not.
We can swear at you, it's okay. But it's not an easy thing to do, is it? It's not fun. It's not easy. It's not sane. But you gotta understand, from this angle, I don't know what you do. I don't understand what you do. All I know is that you cost me money, you take my time, you annoy the crap out of me insisting that something's wrong, even when my mail works, and that's all that matters.
And I do my cake.
And my cake.
I'm not sure where it's that perspective, or the one where the executive knows more than you do.
So let's switch it up a little bit.
Because that's even worse.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Your position,
I'm going to
that
point
far
out the one most important thing you didn't do. Yeah, I just spent 1 minute telling you to do before I had this hour of amazing schools.
But you only gave us 10 minutes, that's enough.
Come on now.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to run the same thing with some different problems. Okay?
well.
Stay there. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Very nice things about this board.
You're such a suck up.
Right. But we
So now,
we appreciate that.
let's do this. I want to do some different problems, not the same ones, okay? So let's come up with some different problems. So let's see what we've got. Scenario 2, compliance. Give me some compliance issues. Let's pick a compliance regime first off. How's that? Start with there. What's that? HIPAA. Okay, HIPAA's a good one. So what's the let's see. So we're going to start with the basics. Give me another compliance issue. How about policy?
We haven't defined
What's the question? Well, what are policies? Because we don't have any, that's what you're saying.
Okay, security. Don't worry, you're not going to be in compliance. Security. What kind of security problems do I have? I've got a HIPAA. Well, let's go back a step. Let's background info. So this is obviously a healthcare system because we've got HIPAA problems. Okay, it's a healthcare network that Josh needs to learn to spell. This healthcare network has, I don't know, let's say 20,000 employees again, because that's legit. There are healthcare networks that are easily that big, simply. So they've got what? Can we say like 250 locations? Some of which are hospitals, some are clinics, some are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. We're healthcare. We do rehab, urgent care, hospital type stuff, you know, emergency room, whatever. Long-term patient care, and hospice, I heard called that. Okay, great. So, security problems.
Being targeted by China right now.
I'm sorry?
Being targeted by China right now.
China is an ally of the United States. I don't know what you're talking about.
How about ransomware? International threat actors.
Ooh, ransomware. International threat actors, fine. Really?
What about medical devices? I'm adding medical devices on platform. Insulin chips.
Okay, give me one more. Sorry? Okay, so here's scenario 2. Here's scenario 2. Compliance, what's HIPAA? We don't have encryption. We have information all over the damn place. It's in systems. And what are policies? I don't know what policies are. Then for security, we've got international threat actors, ransomware, unpatched medical devices on flat networks, and employees are going, do we have security? I don't know what security is. Executives have roughly the same problems, okay? We've changed the scenario significantly, but it's still a valid and viable scenario, right? Now here's the biggest change we're going to make. All of you work together. You're all the compliance and the security team, okay? One big group. Oh my God. All right.
Bio break?
Yeah, take 15 minutes for planning and bio break. Go. So if you spend the time however you want. If you spend 15 minutes in the bathroom, you don't need to plan much.
Guys, we got a lot of people here, so could we work on part of it and then collaborate?
Sure. Whatever you want. You're the compliance.
So you guys feel okay with that? You guys need a leader on that side.
And I'm going to swap somebody out. You, come on up. You, back in here.
Set a timer period of time, we'll come back together.
Nobody's useless. Everybody can learn from somebody else, no worries.
You guys are gonna work on compliance, we're gonna work on security, we're gonna come together, let's set a time for 7 minutes. And then we'll smooth each other out, okay? Does that work?
So did you notice how quickly the compliance seems like the security guys there? And you security like.
This is so much fun.
We got our savers.
I agree.
I've heard this is fun. Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah. Let's see if I can grab a coffee. Do you need anything?
I'm gonna grab some water from the thing outside and just go
No, security portion. So, international threat actor.
It's the same thing with, so you know, that's what security, but that ties in their, you know, their medical devices. They need to segment it out, but but each of the, so the networking segment is the most you make sure.
It's either that or we're talking about doing something extensive data.
So you have now a mature data classification. Right, which is back to policies.
Or similar. Well, you don't have, because we're doing something.
We are. Oh, we okay.
So
the reason
I guess this is.
So ransomware, we have to accept the OS. That's it's also just an application for segmenting.
The control we put in is awesome. So you need some of this encryption. That's why, because that's.
It's no longer
If you've got, but then you've got, the devices that see something actually that
Their data shouldn't be stored on the device. They shouldn't be on the device itself. Should be, it should be in a database where the data has to be.
Thank you, Senator.
Moving this around. So you're going to have to change your reporting solution. Giving choices, whether people are taking it to lab, or domestic solution, or USB. So, basically, I don't think she might work if you get to level 0 and right? So then, meanwhile, somebody, we have somebody taking some international recognition that we can't talk about. So, obviously, so that means you can't make calls. I don't understand how some of those things are very powerful.
My question.
So we have monsters.
We have all, we have the policy. So we have a policy.
Right, we're gonna want to, certification awareness and how we set them for leadership on board with the policy, because then we're not going to force it. If you want to walk your users, you said what that policy is, you will do anything.
You know, but that would be an alternative.
I've been saying this for years. I don't freaking listen. I think it's great.
Sure.
You know,
Well, that's what I say, I don't focus on it. I've got workshops, I'm losing my vendors, free CTFs, I got people who do the training.
But some people talk to an executive team, or talk to a technical person, or talk to a. I mean, there's need for the pizza slices. Pizza slices, a whole little pizza, 2 liters of and close the door and nail it shut and never went out. Okay? Eventually they start making the pizza and you're done. But anyway.
Okay. 2 minutes before we get back together.
So.
Yeah.
One of their stuff they used to do.
More so than sales.
Like negotiate what you're gonna do, to negotiate.
Yes. I'm looking at so that would go to Texas or Connecticut.
Seriously, I can really make sense of that.
Yeah, I look, I'll keep that in mind.
That's a lot of travel.
There's a lot of travel, but right now, my lack of purpose profession is causing me straight up.
How about you, Mark? I don't know if share my skill.
It's inside the same company.
I don't know what you do.
I want to ask you one more. That's nice. And then I was thinking that I like the slide.
We're going to spend up to $2 million. No, we love JP so much back.
Like especially at a
Anyways.
I don't think so.
Seriously? That's sexy.
That's fantastic.
So now instead of saying, oh, we get the this point on
Yeah.
right.
All of them.
Yeah.
And here's the same time.
This is visually appealing. The audience.
Address our.
That's good.
I've been working on like using Get initialized it. And using this concept, you bring together all sorts of process for years. We're solving that by
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So when you drop this security fund, I got it.
Really?
It's exciting when you get to start on your own.
That's great. That'd be really time.
You get to start on nothing. That's you? Oh, I talked to you.
Yeah, and it also requires us to have.
That's all.
That
Real long pause.
But, yeah, I'm not playing on. I think
Training costs.
It's an easy fun.
$5 per person.
What's going on?
But it's much more now. So what they were discussing.
Yeah.
Legal verification. Make sure that's clear. That personally, really complicated.
Are you really
No, I
That's the joke.
I know what I mean. Yeah, I know what I mean. I just I really never take off.
That's a very, very impressive. Because they're expensive. That's a very smart move. I think in this culture, we downplay the value of experience significantly. And it's
Into medical devices.
how bad do you pronounce that experience? Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
I keep closing the windows out there.
I apologize.
Oh, like they're CEO of the company and then they
Okay,
say.
so we got about 5 minutes left. You guys want to come in this topic? What this topic?
Really?
All of our CEOs operate day hours and started the company a couple years ago. They're all still there.
Wow, that's impressive.
And the average tenure.
What's the year's cost for
The
everyone?
average tenure cost of work. That's the whole.
Correct. It's all
Like
about.
the ones that turn into staples, they stay 10 to 12 hours. I gotta tell you, I gotta give you a lot of time. I really like it. I see too many people go.
So we need to do
down to 10
that.
6 months.
Got that truck too, but again, that's not there.
Well, education.
You pick the cream of the crop stage.
We
And
actually
two
have a
companies,
very.
actually with heuristic changes, and looking for entropy on surprises. So,
why was the?
Seriously?
That's really nice.
So that just, Wolfgang and I were talking about how the soft skills component
Yeah.
are
All of our.
Overlooked.
Everybody goes through. Everybody goes through that.
We can pull back.
No, seriously. So
Right.
Alex Partners. Alex,
You're with that? I think it was previously good.
they use a behavioral psychologist.
So, I didn't know how much you had tax, because I can't go into the choice of the way, like, personality. Brian Clifford's thing, right? Brian Clifford.
and a lot of that, on 12 rather than.
He's in the average tenure there is 10 to 12 years. I'm shocked. It's so nice to hear. I'd say 100 hours. Doing that and succeeding. So you guys are doing very well. That's plus a billion.
And you're.
That monitoring map.
That's the board.
Critical step. Or less than.
I'm serious.
And reimage.
You know,
It's not what's going to restore your server back, then you only have a few there, you're still limited machines you need to run that. Well, your ransomware is not, it's, for the most part, it's not like you want to question out your entire company.
what am I doing? Investing in the next generation? Why would I do that?
That's what I'm doing. You sign up for 2 years, like I mentioned.
Yes, the person, 5 years.
I'm actually, I'm advising myself this way for cybersecurity.
Yes.
So I'll review open to this. They give away courses. They're long story, monetizing, but they're giving away courses. But I've seen, just Right. So it's not the genius.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But if you were going to partake in that, I would see some level of resource available.
You can talk to them, I'll have you.
Thank you. I will give you my second.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Okay, we've just got a couple of minutes left. Are you guys getting ready? Oh my God, it's 3:45. Okay, take 2 more minutes and then we're going to start.
So, good.
Which is to me shockingly good. Nice. That right now, they actually would come out of education and testing and go on a drug center network. They know it.
Right.
So they started to say that a few people from that group decided to company and said, let's actually try to partner. They got the Georgia license, how many investors for it. Perfectly for the course at this point. I'm going to do sessions like 5 minutes or sort of 8 segments. Maybe I'll make sure throw it to them and how you get free for any organization or any. And so it's just nice education resource, and they're working with me to build like criteria.
Yeah, pretty much one of the articles on there.
You know, this vacation photo is so personal. We're all on.
So it's, you guys do any like white labeling or parking?
Cyber does some white labeling stuff. I'll have you talk to them. I'm an advisor. My company's Cyber Chair sitting outside.
Yeah, right.
But we're doing education, so I'm talking about it. They'll talk about it.
Because I told them that I was trying to I'm 1 month into it, and if they already got that little mind sharing,
this is, I wanted to show off. Yeah, what's going on, man? John, how are you, man? What's up?
Make sure I got my alarm set behind the same floor. Just want to make sure I got my alarm set. You're getting everyone going to go walk out.
Well, we're doing a workshop. You already cut out some problems. Actually, I'll put it back up on the screen. You'll see it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are. It's time.
Hey.
Now there's 4? What?
Life is tough. You'll live.
Josh, real quick question.
Yeah.
PII is everywhere.
Yeah.
Is that intended to be PHI?
Ooh, you're right.
Okay.
Wait. Actually, that's not even right yet. So we have a late visitor, Don. Don, what we have here is we have a scenario. We have executives, and we have a combined compliance and security group who have these problems. These are their compliance problems, their security problems, the executives' problems, and here's the background info. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get to present to the executives. Now, you know what? You got an hour? You want to be another executive?
Not really.
All right, fine. Here,
I just want to observe.
And then do me a favor, move back a row or two, because that's where they get to present from.
You're the line of fire.
So, all right, let's start. You want to start with compliance or security? I'll give you guys a choice.
Why would we going together? We're working together here.
Now that's what I wanted to hear. Lovely. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please send your representative to the front. Not gonna do it.
Our representative step out.
Oh, that's not helpful.
Yeah.
So guess what? You can pick a representative or I can pick a representative. Your choice. A representative.
What?
Do you want to go just one?
Yes.
Yes.
For each.
No.
One.
You want to do it together. That's one. Who is your CISO?
We didn't have that organizational structure, so I think that.
I told you you were a combined group, didn't I?
We have a compliance officer and security officer.
Okay, valid too.
Yeah, you gave us 15.
Compliance officer and CISO.
Our CISO is sitting up there.
We took him up there for the board.
Nice try.
We have an insider. Good afternoon.
How are you guys today?
Thanks for meeting with us today.
Casual Friday meetings. I like the policy mix. I like working with Fridays.
I heard we don't have any policy.
Well, we don't have security policies, otherwise we didn't function as we didn't have HR.
Speak up, guys. Speak up. They got to hear you in the back.
Yeah.
So which one is the CISO, which one is the compliance officer?
I'm the CISO.
I'll take compliance.
Such reluctance.
Well, you put him up there and all of a sudden I named it.
So starting off, I'm a little bit curious. We have no policies.
Correct.
We deal with it.
Yes.
If this requirement is that you will have policies.
Correct. That's
So
why we're here to talk
how
to you
long
today.
have you been in your positions?
I started Monday. I did, and that's why we are here with you on Friday after hours. Where would you like to start? Compliance or security?
Your call.
All right, well, let's start with compliance so that we can get into the technical side of security and how we're going to implement that afterwards, right? So,
I
Speak
really
up.
want you to be strategic in this meeting though.
Sure.
So we can get technical, but we don't want to get too tactical or down the weeds.
absolutely.
So let's just address the most important issues.
And you really have to speak up because he's got to hear you in the back there, okay?
Okay. A cost should be addressed. We did. So, as a health organization, we have to respond to HIPAA. Right? We have to have documented policies. Because currently, it started on Monday, and we only have 2 other people within this department. It's me, myself, and I. So, I need to state a team, get with a consulting company, find the acceptable frameworks for implementing policies that will lead us within HIPAA compliance. I project it will take about a year expedited if I can add consulting staff as well. 2 years, I have to do so internally, but I will need someone that has technical writing background and also some compliance background, so budget.
Wait,
a little over $1 million.
is this just for the policies?
Yeah. Because we're tying in not only the policy creation, but from that, we're going to ensure HIPAA compliance and
Can I ask you a question? And you were responsible for the job record. So refresh my memory, wasn't writing and communication part of the job record?
I don't need to be here. You're not in the room. Sure, what's up? Ask me.
Who's the compliance officer?
He's the compliance officer.
The two men. So tell me why it takes a year to write down. I mean, we have experts. We've been in healthcare since
I think more importantly,
1972.
we need to understand how long we've been out of compliance, what the risk is for the fines that we'll be facing, because how, we haven't had documented procedures, you're saying there's none, so how long have we been out of compliance, and what's the potential we're facing from a legal standpoint and fines, and that's PB&E.
Yeah, when was our last audit, where's our finance?
I'm asking you that question because I can't seem to find it. And you guys need to.
That's not our security officer.
Who's the legal officer? Was the general counsel responsible for legal?
As the legal officer of the corporations, I can tell you that our last compliance audit was performed approximately 4 years ago under our last chief compliance officer, and we had some findings. Notice my name is not on the report because I refused to sign it, but he did, and he was subsequently dismissed.
So why did it take 4 years to replace it?
Because nobody would take the job.
Fair enough. We're going to have proudly.
In all seriousness, did you guys have smartphones? Because I can download a packet of the entire HIPAA forms that you need and policies in about 3 minutes.
That's what I'm getting. I don't understand why we're talking about a year for policies. And you bring up a good point.
They're free on the internet. Alaska, Yale, a few others.
Compliant 4 years ago. Past 4 years is kind of unknown. We have people, we've been doing healthcare since 1972. You got households can download off the internet. And what other options do we have to maybe escalate? We don't need everything, just write down exactly what we're doing at a high level, get back to compliance.
So basically, what is your strategy to take this forward?
Develop the policies, bring us back within compliance. From there, launch in parallel the security awareness program to remain in compliance. And then on the more implementation level, protect the DPHI in transit and rest. Because there are encryption methods that are required.
Speak up.
How do you do that?
Well, that's where we're getting into the weeds, that's where we get a strategy first. Get a strategy.
Sounds good.
So, what happens next after you've done all that? How are you going to
Maintain compliance. That was where we would go with the policy development and the security awareness program. So once the policies are in state, they'll be annually audited for any changes that need to be implemented, and then published and distributed.
Internally audited or externally audited?
Internally audited. And then we can also go out once every other year or once annually if needed to maintain an external audit of our law.
Speak
Coming on
up.
to council.
Lungs, use them.
I have small lungs.
You heard Brian Child?
They need smaller ones.
This is true.
I thought you were on our team.
Sorry.
So from there, once that's been stated, we will drastically reduce our legal risk and possible fines, because we will at least have a rolling momentum and inertia forward. So say we do fail in audit or compliance, we will be able to at least implement quicker than what we are at.
Did you include a strategy for brand management and sustainability? Because I'm thinking that because we've been out of compliance so long that we are going to take a hit on our brand and our credibility, and how do we overcome that and what is our approach to do so?
I did not even consider that.
Hey,
As I said, I started with it.
Hey, can we really say we're out of compliance?
If we have no documented policies and they require documented policies, I would say yes.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
This is why I told you you can't put them up there.
This is awesome. You don't get it. This is so much fun for him because he's normally sitting on that side of the table.
I'm glad somebody's actually.
Right.
I just say we shouldn't be too hasty before we say we're out of compliance. Because again, we do have some
So
policies.
you're saying that we should alter our ethical behavior in order to maintain our brand management?
But as our patient care is paramount, and as the brand of this hospital healthcare is our duty to steward forward, I don't want to rush to say whether we're compliant or not compliant. We do have some policies, we have some
So you think there's
documentation.
wiggle room in our PR that we don't
I
have to
do.
disclose?
I don't think we necessarily, well,
So how can we guarantee patient safety and ethical behavior be a little suspect?
that's why we hired him to, correct the problems and address it. And I do have some concerns about a 2-year roadmap. I think we need to close that gap and, get it done as quick as possible. But I don't want to be too hasty to say we're not compliant.
I agree with.
Yeah, but you're just looking at the money. Long-term strategy requires us to behave in an ethical format and fashion so that we can ensure patient behavior. And what I assume you're going to talk about is probably patient confidentiality as well.
100%.
So if we're going to wiggle room on this, then why would our patients and our future patients come to us for healthcare?
Because I'm
Because they
not
can't trust
suggesting we wiggle room. I am saying, though, that if we go out with the stance that we've been uncompliant and perhaps your information.
Why not just uncover the bodies, disclose them, say, hey, we have COPA and let's move on? It does work out well. Tylenol? Tylenol is the precedent setting. Tylenol was pre-1990.
Yeah, pre-Twitter, pre-Facebook.
So then we're talking about financial. We're talking about financial risk.
What I want you to see, guys, is that even on that amazing executive side where we never see a crack in the armor, they argue amongst themselves. They need their own stories, their own archetypes, their own way of discussing things. And you'll get the distilled version of it, but you might not know all the background.
And I think
This was really good. Yeah, it was awesome. I lucked out.
Well, that's full disclosure, I don't think we want to go ahead and do that, we're shooting ourselves in the foot right in the neck, guaranteeing the failure of the company.
Yeah, you said that we are actually.
So I would agree with both then, that first of all, we cannot
whether we are in or out of compliance, that's irrelevant. The question is the first.
Are we documenting our ethical behavior in our policy?
Unless our legal counsel.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
has
It's
some
just
sort
that-
of-
Not playing that again.
And legal's gonna say not to document this, they're gonna
Yes.
say to.
From a brand management standpoint, no, I disagree. That you have to give an ethical statement in order to implement and maintain a compliant situation when you're dealing with people's health care and life and death
So we're
matters.
gonna put a sticker.
That ethical behavior is relevant.
Your MRI scanner.
So you want to have finances before ethics, so therefore we could just
But
open
it's-
up
it's-
slaughterhouse.
Just to pause for just a moment, I think the true ethical question is, are we giving health care to these people? Do we believe our hospital is the best hospital to do that? Because if we do, we have a duty to those patients to have them come to us as opposed to some third world clinic. And what it ultimately needs is, this gentleman here, you've got to come up with a quicker strategy to close these gaps.
But you're saying that ethical behavior is being defined by our legal defensibility and our financial impact.
Absolutely.
So, but that's ridiculous. You're either ethical or you're not, and you drive your business based on
numbers,
that.
or do we not?
Does anybody want to help them? They need some help here.
They're talking to each other.
Right. You're not the one to do
That's
that.
what's wrong with it. You're watching all these
Let's
executives.
put a pin on the management, because I think that's really more of a question for our marketing and PR team. Really today, we need to get.
So you want our marketing and PR team to define our ethics? Is that what you're
So
saying?
how about some explain the impact of any
Because you
such
can't just assume everyone's going to behave in the same way and call it ethical.
It's not like
Here
we're
we go.
making
But
this
here's
up,
the
that
work.
we're fixing this.
I hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah.
It was great.
I'm glad.
Thank
Hey,
you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
And you make me like we're just gonna leave this alone. We're trying to address it. That's why we're.
Keep going, keep going. Move on,
You're
move
not.
on a little bit.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
We should
need
say
to
we're
talk about
getting
this.
these fixed, and we're announcing we're fixing it. No, we should announce we're done.
Right.
Right.
Tell them what we're doing it, because what if we don't get this
And
right?
when we announce it, we'll be trumpeting the new and improved patient experience and the greater level of security.
We can move on.
Yes, so what,
We have management issues.
do you have a third option that gets this done quicker?
Let's sleep here and do it in 6 months.
Done.
Okay, sounds good. We do have cots on the third floor. Actually, with the renovation, we can probably get you.
And oxygen that you might need to get the brain.
As long as it's here, we're good.
Okay, good.
I'll just sleep here.
So what is our mitigation strategy? So since we're not going to say that we are or are not in compliance, because I really don't want that up. The question here is that if we are not, what is our mitigation strategy? And if we are, what do we do to strengthen the competition?
I would think that based on that position, that I would have to confer with the legal counsels, we would assume that we have solved it. From that point, expedite remediation efforts. One of those immediate concerns, to the point that those are fixed and we can pass the remediation. From there, we'll continue with annual rollout of the policies.
Start by voting on.
So at least your position is assume the worst.
Well, when does this audit come? I mean, do we have enough time to at least say, here's our plan, so they'll let us come, we can say, here's what we addressed, and here's what we're gonna do to close the gaps.
I don't know yet.
Started on Monday.
Started on Monday.
How was your first week?
That's why
Better
we're
now is what I think you mean.
So, shall we go to security concerns then?
Right.
Yeah.
So since we have no policies and we haven't assessed risk and.
Well, we don't have a full complete set of policies.
Right.
So
Exactly.
this was 4 years ago.
Right.
So they must still be the same.
Absolutely.
Well, at least that's a good starting point. Go ahead.
We've identified some key areas that we really need to concentrate on to keep us HIPAA compliant, protect, patient information, and all the things that we think are important.
We don't have this done.
One of the threats is international actors, Russia, China,
We take Russia.
Georgia, the
Yeah.
country, not the state.
So I don't think we are at this point in time.
Yeah.
I mean, what percentage of our patients are international?
Right, no, not patients. We're talking about network attacks from other countries.
Why would we be taking this?
Yeah. We really are just a small hospital.
Maybe we should start treating Chinese.
We have
We're a very small healthcare system.
Should we put out
Our
a?
footprint's very small, I would think.
We should get PR involved and do like a campaign. in
Yeah,
China.
maybe like,
They
a
know
Chinese person on one of
that
the
we
lots.
will. We should have a Chinese translator.
Yeah.
We can really work.
Recently in the news, there's been
How many people are actually on the board? You sure so?
There's been some extortion going on with healthcare providers that there's been malware that encrypts the files, you no longer can get to anymore.
Yeah, I was playing golf with the CEO of Hospital X, and he mentioned something about this. There's a big error in something about a coin or a bit of a coin.
Do you have a Bitcoin coin? Because we're going to need.
He didn't really know, but he didn't get his computer.
Is it like when they like when you see the
That's what I'm talking about. So we're on the back nine. Yeah, Bitcoin.
This is for crypto coin.
Do you have any wallet? I've seen it.
Do you have it in your wallet? I'd like to see it. Oh my God. Okay.
Commercial thing, you just gotta get some.
We went up to ransomware, obviously.
To protect, well, ransom and international actors.
You need to keep them.
Come on, my phone. Right?
You can.
Go through the next couple. Go through the next couple. Come on. Get through the next couple, guys.
What is the plan for addressing these Bitcoin ransom issues with China?
Okay. We would like to make sure our backups, we back up our data now. We want to make sure, we want to set the lab, we can verify and restore the backups. To make sure that everything that we backed up, we can recover.
Right.
Because if we get our stuff encrypted, that will be the last fallback point.
So how does the encrypted part tie back?
So, like I said, there's a extortion scheme where they encrypt your stuff, they encrypt your data, which means you can't get to it, 'cause you don't have the keys.
Right.
And then they ransom Bitcoin from it, or money.
Bitcoin is a digital currency.
Oh.
So.
Dear God.
I'm actually going to give a pass.
Okay, good. That's fine. Thank
I was
you.
waiting for Wolf to just turn on me, and I'm like, please, somebody's going to go the executive route, and it's just going to leave it alone.
I was just like, ow, that hurt. You know.
He's going to leave it alone, please.
Digital currency, I've heard of this. It was on Fox.
So it makes our data unavailable.
So all right, so we're going to set up this lab. We're going to do some more
Restore our data,
so
make
that
sure
we
get
know
our
what to
data
do
back
if
at
the
every point,
ransomware
at any
happens.
point.
What's the time frame of costing this? Please don't tell me 2 years.
No, we're talking 200K in 6 months.
So we back everything up to Amazon.
So
Sounds good.
we're gonna get 200K in Bitcoins?
We're gonna need it.
The last hospital, they only paid 17,000 in Bitcoins, why do we need 200K?
Oh, is that what you're talking
For all
about?
the Chinese patients.
Yeah.
Can I get to my case?
So is there any way, all right, and I think the Amazon is a good question, right? So everything's going to the cloud. Can we leverage the cloud to do this faster, to do this better, cheaper?
Yes, that is part of our lab environment is going to
What
be
about our
in the cloud.
Like, we can't use it.
Good one.
Yeah. So what, from a compliance perspective, I thought you were saying on Tuesday that we couldn't go to the cloud.
Yeah.
There's certain information cannot go to the cloud, yes.
Maybe there's
You know what information that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it been identified?
Does it, I'm not familiar with it, does it matter? I mean, just not the question of the board, but the question of you guys.
Out of character,
Does it matter
yeah.
if the data is encrypted? Wow.
No,
Because it's not actually
You're absolutely
personally
right.
identifiable.
So the mitigation, if you want to use cloud services like Grok or Vim or whatever, is you do DAuth or you do format preserved encryption or you do item level encryption, and you keep those keys internal.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like you're going to throw
So
it.
So as long as you have the internal keys.
Correct. And you don't.
You can't store that
It can't be encrypted on the cloud, you encrypt it,
You
you
do
use
the
the
data
data
lake
in
in
the
the
cloud.
cloud, which again, I just said, I do item level formally.
Yeah, right on comments. Yeah, obviously.
What are those? They're the private keys. Don't worry about them.
Current indeed.
Okay, back in here.
Yes.
No, but that was valid. That was valid. That was valid.
That was really good.
So where are we? We're at unpatched medical devices on flat networks.
Yeah.
Part of the mitigation of ransomware is going to be get rid of our flat network, because one it's like one room with everything we own. Somebody throws a bomb there, everything gets destroyed. We have several rooms, several bomb-proof rooms. Somebody throws a bomb into one room, we lose that one room. We don't lose everything.
What if that is a critical rule?
That would be part of the policies that we're going to be implementing, is identifying where those are set up in a data classification system, identify those critical assets, and then segment those properly based on executive decision and the risk they want to accept as a company, the general business risk of that, the legal risk, and then set up even more stringent policies and methods to protect those assets.
So how are our competitors doing this, assuming that they're very shaping us? So what are they doing that we're not doing?
Brother ones.
Yes, babies.
To answer your question, I'm not entirely sure. This is my first foray into the medical industry.
But again, wasn't that the job, right? Hiring from the medical industry?
It's been open for 4 years, I think he does a favor.
Yeah.
Here.
So let's talk about a background screening process.
I think.
Sir, where's your degree from?
Yes.
What?
Where's your degree from?
Underwater basket weaving from University of Hawaii.
You know what now? It makes sense why we fired our HR department. Okay.
Makes a lot more sense now.
So he's okay.
I don't want to jump back. I'm sorry, I got a text from my wife, but tell me again, we're putting a network in each room.
Essentially. They're all tied together.
No, you missed the point. He thinks you're actually talking about physical rooms every room in the building.
But it's essentially that as well.
From the Dow company, so we might get a couple more rooms to wait up.
Right, and what happens if we have more rooms?
All our infrastructure will remain the same.
Maybe
We need a couple new devices.
Patients in there too.
It's a virtual check.
17,000.
To answer your question, sir, we don't know what our competitors are doing, but we're going to implement industry standard best practices across the board. We assume they're doing the same thing. We hope they're doing the same thing. Well, we don't.
That's how we know.
There's really no way to know.
We really need to benchmark.
Is there really no way of knowing? Is there a consortium of, that we do that?
If they're publishing their best practices and what they're doing, then I guess we could know if we put a slide in the building or not.
I'm not talking about doing anything on that, I went on that earlier, but I am talking about having.
Okay, now you're getting silly.
We,
As funny as that is.
we seriously need to benchmark this before we approve all these spends. I'm very concerned, even though with the endowment, there's a lot we can do with the endowment. And spending it on a network for every room seems secure, conscious, but perhaps a little much. I really would like to benchmark our competitors
And you know
before
what
we
I'm
do.
hearing? I'm hearing all the people that come into our hospital saying they can't get on Wi-Fi, they can't get their Pokemon when they come in. We need to put in Wi-Fi for the folks that come in.
Yeah, I would agree.
We already have a gas Wi-Fi system,
Perhaps with the big Pokemon.
but this will segregate it from our current system. Right now, our networks are the same. When a guest comes in and gets on our network, they get on our network. They're on the same
Well, they should
network.
tell us they're going to get in.
They're on the same network that all our most precious data is stored on. They're on the same network that patient data is stored on.
That could be big.
Patient
Especially
A
now that we're-
is on the network of patient B. So this segmentation,
They not like sharing the room.
it's in the same room.
This is why we need the rooms for the network.
How did that make our Wi-Fi do?
Okay.
All right, so we've
Enough.
got 200,000 in 6 months for the lab and the backup testing. I want to add a report back to us before we spend that we do some benchmarking to make sure it's appropriate. But I still haven't heard what, for this networking component, what is the cost and time to implement that?
There's going to be an initial cost of $700,000 for network equipment.
That's valid.
It's a one-time cost.
That's valid, yeah.
What we're going to do is add some network equipment to our data center.
Yep.
And the rest is configuration changes, so we won't, it's a, in addition to that, there's a $60,000 a year maintenance on those new devices.
Is that just for the equipment or is that also for people?
That's just for the equipment. So the network team will be able to make these changes without adding any new people.
Would you like to bring in a consultant team to evaluate this and kind of validate?
So he gets a consultant, but I don't get a consultant for a network?
Well, we don't even know if you're having a job next year.
Okay, guys, we're running short on time.
I want to stop it here. I want to cut it here for a second. I want to commend you too. I'm holding strong in the face of some impressive opposition.
Although I did realize that they were not physical rooms. So I thought that was really good, simple analogy that was supposed to level set.
That was based on a real example. I was talking with the CEO, the CFO,
Oh,
and the COO, and he literally stopped and got a text and came back halfway through my analogy. He said, So wait, we're climbing a hill now?
Yeah.
I thought your job was blah, 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 and it took me 15 minutes to get them back on track.
Yeah.
I didn't know that that was part of your act, so I guess the Oscar goes to you, we took it wrong, unfortunately.
And I reverse engineer.
Okay.
Right somewhere in Bitcoin.
Oh, dear God. So,
So you guys really don't know what Bitcoin is?
Yeah.
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 He knew about Hollywood hospitals somehow.
That's what I was like,
On stage, because sometimes you just.
Actually,
get
the
one
big
right
started
now.
at 3 million, when they realized they were dealing
Like
with
50% of the
murder,
neighborhoods.
if somebody died, that's when they went down to 70,000 and Bitcoin real fast.
You know what's interesting, by the way, about Hollywood Hospital? Sorry, a little off track. The thing that nobody talks about is that it's not about the ransomware, but about the patient care.
Yeah, because they kept at it for 3 or 4 days.
For 3 days, Hollywood Hospital refused people with their ER, at Hollywood Memorial, whatever it is, refused people with their ER, couldn't do proper patient care, and we basically had a denial of service attack effectively against the entire healthcare system.
Yeah.
And they were losing, what was it, I think they were losing close to over, what, 10 million a day?
Yep.
So they were handling over 3 million, losing 10 million a day, and then they got the keys, and they were happy and they didn't make any changes after that.
Right. It's remarkable. Anyway, so, ladies and gentlemen, let's back up a step, and well, that's a fascinating discussion on its own, trust me. I talked to Josh Gorman for an hour on that one.
Oh, yeah.
He's just obsessed with it, it's crazy. But, so let me ask you a question. We lost some people because 4 o'clock was when we were supposed to end, but they moved my whole thing from 1 to 2 to 5. The first session or the second session? Working as separate teams or working together? Which was easier? Oh, an amazing thing, isn't it? And when
Except for the fact that you put a wolf up there.
I didn't say I would make it nice.
One thing I will, if you don't mind, also too, when you guys are working together, work together to answer the questions. Because he was getting buried, and you're like,
Yeah.
Oh, well, I had nothing saying compliance.
okay.
We ran out of time.
Yeah.
We went up with security issues with compliance guys.
But feel free when you guys go.
Yeah.
But you guys,
There was something I was saying, one of you asked a question, and he said, that's compliance, we're gonna have to do policies on that. It's just absolutely perfect.
Yeah, he had it going, absolutely.
You gotta realize, every one of these board members has a different agenda for whatever they're. And attention span.
Personal and business.
Absolutely.
I've been presenting for the board, not the sidetrack, but actually one guy asked me a question, got up, went and got a bagel, came back, and that was it. He just asked the question, he didn't care about the answer.
They just want everyone else to go.
I just wanted everybody to know that the 200K that they were paying him to be there was justified by the fact that he asked one question. Then there was another guy.
He's not joking, he's not joking, that's
Yeah, there
happening.
was a guy on the call, so they had people dialing in for 200K, and there were people actually, I don't know if they were getting 200K to dial in, but this guy was saying, okay, so that's it. So the guy who was sitting there asked the question, turns to his thing, chuckles, goes and gets a bagel, and I'm trying to talk to him, and he comes back and says, well, you know, we're running short of time because lunch is coming up.
And I've literally seen people like, you've got 10 minutes to make your
And
case,
then-
and then they're like, get out.
And, you know, your presentation was fantastic on, you know, the way that you were systematically able to talk to strategy and talk to it at a level of confidence.
Yes,
It really doesn't matter what you say, it's how you say it.
that's true.
So you
Yeah.
could be bullshitting all you want because we don't know crap. But what we do know is that if you're confident enough, then we can fall asleep in the desk.
Make it till you make it.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. Because I actually, I'm not gonna name names, but I work for a audio company that matches Bang & Olufsen and Nakanichi. I used to work for them. Their CFO told me that, why do we need security? We only make speakers. And that was one thing which I was going to post to you, that, you know, we're a small hospital. I mean, we basically cater to illegal immigrants, and we have imported doctors, so why do we need security?
Which I would
Who knows about
tell
us?
you, no one did this in this room, but always start with the mission of the organization and then tell your story. So, a guy, a good friend of mine, David Alfring, is a CISO for a transportation company.
Yeah.
He's like, talk about the trucks. Everything he says is, here's what I'm telling you about trucks, here's what this does for the trucks, blah, blah. When I was in financial, it's always about funds. Let me tell you what this does for our funds, mutual funds, whatever. Right?
And you always need to have a strategy, because the thing is, if you don't have, you might not know what's going on right now, you can always come back. But if you don't have a strategy, then we're really screwed. One is, you know, you're in the dark, you're telling us something that you don't know. We can deal with you don't know, and that's happened to me a lot where I told them, I don't have the information, I will be back to you with that, and we'll be able to provide you with different levels of detail. But right
right now where our strategy is this.
You guys don't know how lucky you are that we have these people in this room. Like seriously, you have no idea. You just had a master's level, PhD level education in what executives talk like, think like, work like, are like. Because, and you were the gentleman, what was your name again? I'm sorry. No? Yeah. Rich. Rich was, we were talking earlier and he was telling me about, you spoke about the story. Storytelling. And how you have to be able to tell the story in a language that they can understand. And as you have found out, the language of compliance, the language of security, the language of executives are very different languages, yes? And when you have very different languages like that, you need to speak in words that they will hear, that they will understand, and that they can respond to. And to be very honest with you, since we're security people and we do this thing called social engineering, in ways that they will respond the ways you need them to respond. If you say, yeah, we've got a problem and here's the problem, and you can say it in a way that they understand, but you say it in such a way that it seems like it's a small problem, and they take it as such, their problem may seem much greater. So if you say it in a way that expresses the urgency, the problem, the significance of it, they will understand how urgent this is and maybe make it as equal to their own.
I'm sorry, you've got to present the problem and the solution.
Yes.
They're not paying you to come to, I've got problems with my teenage kids, so I need somebody to come to me and say, this is my problem, this is my solution, but here's where I need you to A, either cut me some slack, or B, give me some money, or C, give me some.
When you talk,
Which level?
when you talk between the teams, you can say, I have a problem, I don't have a solution, let's sit down and talk about it. Maybe the compliance team is the solution to my security problem. Maybe the security team is the solution to my compliance problem. Whatever. But when you go and sit down and say, this is what we need to do, solve the problems that we have, both security and compliance, you best have a solution. You best put it in a way that they will understand. You best make it so that they understand the urgency, the scope, the significance, and what it actually is. And most importantly, how it relates to the damn business of the company.
That's why instead of you got to chart with somebody else, when you walk into that table, you need to know more about your business than you've ever known before. And that may be reaching out as research, and maybe writing it up, and maybe practicing it. But you have to know everything. So they're going to say, well, I was just talking to your nursing staff, and she says all their policy procedures are square. Then you're like, oh, yeah. Where do you go from there?
You're saying 5 minutes of 10 people screaming at you, scribbling on a paper isn't adequate preparation.
No, it's not, and I'm sorry, I screwed you. You're absolutely right, I totally screwed you. But there's also preparation you can do. When you're going to go meet with an executive board, or a single executive, a group of executives, a whole board, why don't you research them? Have you read every word that they have all written? Have you seen every presentation they've ever given? Have you known every conference they've ever attended? Every one of them has a LinkedIn. Every one of them has a Facebook. Every one of them has an OSINT profile you could have if only you thought of it.
And you're absolutely right, you should, because when you walk in, you're trying to get something from this group.
Right.
And you want to use every tool that you can possibly use, including OSINT and intelligence and what other people say, to, I won't say manipulate, but to certainly
It's manipulation, but it makes you understand what they think is important. You can phrase it in terms they'll understand. She's been a chemical engineer, so I'm going to talk about the chemistry involved. I'm going to talk about the reactions of the two different solutions that we have, and how one is a base and one is an acid, and they'll cancel each other out if we don't buffer it very carefully.
And then it adds to the relationship. So next time I see you and I relate to you, I understand you, and I find you incredible.
It's not social engineering. I mean, it is to a certain extent, but it's really giving them a story they can understand. Okay, and I'm totally crediting you on that. It's giving them a story and an understanding of the material you're trying to present. It gives it to them in a fashion they can digest. It's palatable to them. Okay? Realistically, compliance and security are the same thing. We're trying to make the company better. We're trying to make the company more secure, more compliant, stronger against outside enemies. We're trying to make sure that our stuff doesn't get stolen. Our stuff stays where it is because we like getting that paycheck. We like having the credentials of, here, let me show you my card. My card is awesome. I work at this awesome company. Rather than look at, oh, you work there. Oh, that's nice. Nice.
I'll be reminded of American Psycho at this moment, so. Business heritage.
Yeah, right.
So basically, you're giving about the scenarios.
What's that?
This is feels like it's both these scenarios, because we don't kind of have more definition to the business
And you're right. And if I had more time than a day to create these tabletop exercises, it would have been more definition.
Oh, okay.
But I found out that I was doing a workshop the other day. So, yeah, I didn't know it was a 3-hour workshop. And maybe that was my
Oh, I was
misunderstanding.
gonna say, did I screw up?
Well, I expect it.
I'm taking blame for this.
No, it's okay.
But
I
for
probably straight up
example,
missed that entirely.
I asked who the compliance officer was early on here because he's brand new, right? And so kind of the history of, we're making up this history of, there was this compliance officer and everything, and it feels like that's.
Yeah, if you guys want a great training in security, improv theater, and take improv.
Yeah, seriously.
Because you're like, oh, this is widget. Did you hear about our widget factory in Taiwan? It was down for a week. Do you know what that costs us bottom line? $10 million. This particular solution I'm talking about, it's $100,000 could have avoided all that. Now, if you think about how many blah, 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 you know, it's all improv, just make it up.
Do you know one of the rules in improv? You always say yes.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. Yeah.
It seems like good advice though, across the board in life.
Yeah.
Well, there are certain times you want to say no. I'm in Tijuana, there's an offer. No. But. The improv thing is beautiful. Because executives will say things that are at 90 degrees to your reality. I swear to God. And you have to be able to go and just roll with them.
I feel like the Bitcoin thing, I spent a large amount of time explaining Bitcoin to somebody because they were, oh, Bitcoin, and you're like, no. Yeah.
Stay with me.
Right, you guys stay with me.
Already plans.
You know, it's just like the instructor, you have to keep preaching till your student goes, I get it.
The light goes on, you clicked, you hooked them in, okay? And I teach college. I stopped a couple of years ago, but I taught college, and I used to teach nursery school a long time ago. And it's roughly similar, okay? Trust me on this. Because with the nursery school kids, you know, you're like blocks, so like snack, you're like nap time, like ooh. And there's one kid along the way that went blocks, ooh, and one kid that went snack, ooh, and one kid that went nap, ooh, you know? And you had to figure out which hook worked for each kid. And with college students, there's like forensics, incident response, you know, IDS, ooh. I swear to God, same facial expressions. It's hilarious. And so with executives, it's like, you know, saving money, you know, a less headcount.
Legal compliance.
What's that? Compliant? Ooh. You know, it's roughly the similar things.
Well, and this gets back to getting your coaching and doing your OSINT ahead of time. Talk to their admin, read the stuff that as you're mentioning. Make a friend on the board or someone who recently went in front of the board who can give you coaching on what they heard and what the execs kind of care about.
Communication is vastly more important than most security and compliance people think. Vastly more important.
I think something else that Will said is obviously valuable to talk to before, it's also valuable in the entire organization, whether you're security compliance, and that's understanding the mission of a company.
Yeah.
So as you're talking, but and using those same social engineering skills when you're trying to convict someone of some new security policy that you're putting in place, some new changes in security. And you keep doing that over and over again, and then when you do have to go before the board or something, it just becomes a natural instinct for you to do that.
Practicing ahead of time.
Right, and the more that you can more naturally, and this is where the OSINT stuff is important, the more that you can more naturally, I don't want to say present the con, but the way that you can more naturally present the con, the more successful it's going to be.
It's not the con, it's just a methodology to make our realities mesh. It's
so
like,
fun when you think of it.
yeah, it is actually.
That's the entertainment value, yeah.
They always tell people to social engineer the company because they're all damn good. Because the ooh factor, they go, ooh. So
14 character passwords, that sounds like a great idea.
I gave my daughter a whole bunch of books in social engineering because I wanted her to have emotional intelligence. I'm just like, here's how you manipulate people, here's how you argue, here's how you get your wish. Ooh.
Yeah.
But it's along the lines of.
You are hired because you're a security professional or compliance professional or whatever. They expect you to make those decisions. They expect you to be keeping the company in mind in the forefront. And when you try to explain something to me, they don't pay you to do that. Thank you very much. I leave that to you. And so how do you get
So
to
well said.
put it to the next level, that I can go, oh, wow, I trust you, I have faith in you, I have confidence in you, we should run with that path of action, because it sounds reasonable.
Thanks, kudos to both you two guys. Neither you did that, neither one. Well, here's what we're thinking, what do you think we should do, right?
Yeah.
You guys both presented, even you're only here for a week, as the experts, which is good.
And then there's one other thing here that I always like to keep in mind when I'm dealing with people, and not to say that I'm looking at flags or looking at executives, but there's a pendulum in every organization.
Yeah.
So at one end, it goes towards job security, and at the other end, it goes towards ego and legacy. Yeah. So the guys on the front line, you know, the guys that are actually doing the work, they're concerned about job security. They really don't care about ego. They need to pay that mortgage. The person that's up at top, the higher you go, the more it's about their ego. The more it's about, well, I really don't care if I break my phone, I want another phone, I want it shipped to me overnight. I really don't want to wait for an insurance policy, I want this. Why can't the company pay for my, daughters joining with me here because I'm doing this? You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, God, yes.
So ego, when you're dealing with, when the higher up you go, you need to stroke the ego, you need to stroke the concept of legacy, because the guy that got fired from Home Depot, he got another job as another CEO without any problem. And the only thing that really dented his armor was the fact that Home Depot was good enough for him, and that they couldn't do what he told them to do, and that's why they failed, not he failed. So that's the only thing. So at his country club, that is going to hurt him more than anything else.
But again, it's all about different points of view. That was brilliant, I thinking. When you're an IDS, when you're a SOC monkey, okay, sitting in the SOC and doing analysis, are you concerned about being known as the best SOC person in the world? No. You're concerned about doing your job right and paying your mortgage at the end of the month. That's what you do. That's what you think. Okay? But when you've got, I used to work at Estee Lauder, I ran the help desk. This is now, of course, 20 years ago at this point. And William Lauder was a really nice guy. You notice the name Lauder? Estee Lauder? Lauder? Yeah, that's his mom, Estee. I met her. Okay? Her bathroom in the office building, by the way, was gold. Not colored gold. Her bathroom was gold. Solid gold toilet, solid gold bathtub, solid gold shower head, solid gold, you get the idea. William Lauder was a sweet guy, a really, really nice guy. I was the head of the technical support organization. Everybody worked for technical support working for me. Guess who I worked for? Him. I was his personal tech support monkey. Okay? And every week he'd come back from Japan and hand me 3 or 4 devices and go put them on the network. Because he wanted it that way. Guess what we did? Put them on the network. Now this is literally 20 years ago, so it was a little before all the significant security problems and risks, but it was there. It was all about his ego. He's like, he didn't get crud. He wanted his toys, and he wanted to play with them. And he wanted his toys because they were the coolest new toys you couldn't even get in this country. I saw probably the first trio in the United States because he brought it. Okay? So, I mean, everybody's got a different mindset, a different methodology that they operate in, a different point of view, a different story that they live, a different reality. You have to make your reality match up with theirs so you can get the information across that you need to get what you need out of them for the good of the company, for the good of your systems, for the good of your stuff. Okay? The communication is so bloody important, it's not even funny. And when security and compliance teams fight, and how often do they fight?
I was just going to ask that question.
Yeah.
We didn't touch on it.
Yeah.
How do you build or repair that relationship?
So it's a brilliant question, and I'm trying to make sure I'm good on time. I have half an hour. Okay, so I will not try to take the whole half hour, even though I'm long. But let's assume you have a compliance team and a security team, and they don't talk to each other because they suck, and they suck, right? Because how often have we seen that? It's about everywhere. You just go talk. Seriously. Now, if you come in as an analyst, if you don't come in as a head of the compliance team, the head of the security team, if you just walk in the door as an analyst, and you go, okay, I'm a security analyst, and I need to do this to become compliant. And your boss goes, if you talk to the compliance people, I will kill you and rip your bones. Which happens. I had a boss that when I had to go meet with compliance, it was internal audit. And I walked in the room first. I was early to the conference for like 5 minutes, whatever. They both walked in like simultaneously from other sides. There were 2 doors into the room. They each walked in one door. It felt like an Old West showdown. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. I swear to you, I'm not joking. It was just like, oh my God. And they sat down at opposite ends of the table, and the hate waves were just, you know, it was terrifying. So what did I do? I said, this is the plan that I have to mitigate this security problem with a compliant solution. Is this going to be acceptable to you? I wanted to make sure that you were okay with it. He didn't look at it. He goes, no. My boss goes, why did you show that to him? And they walked out. And I was like, wow. And so then I rewrote it. Same thing, different wording. You know how that goes. Yep. And I saw the compliance guy at lunch. And I said, hey, I'm really sorry about the other day. I didn't know it was going to be such a problem. He goes, no, it's okay. And I'm like, I redid it. Can I tell you about it? He goes, yeah, you can tell me about it. And I told him about it. He goes, yeah, we can accept that. I'm like, cool, thanks. And then went to my boss and said, I rewrote it. And I ran it past one of the audit guys, and they said they think they can accept it. And I got crapped on, I'm not gonna lie. But if you're gonna get crapped on that bad, it's not the place to be. Seriously, it's not. And in this industry, just call me. We'll find you, call Wolfgang. We'll find you another job in like 10 minutes. It's not a problem. Yeah, call me. This is well.
Yeah, call me.
Call us. We'll find you something. I promise. But I mean, seriously, I just walked up to him and I'm like, hey, dude, I rewrote the solution. If I do this, will that be okay? Like, what about this? Oh yeah, sure, that's fine. That works. Okay, thanks. We're good. You have to create the lines of communication. You have to break out of the rut.
But I think it's also important to leave the ego, right? So from an IT perspective, I'm sure you understand the ego that may or may not be involved with your area.
No.
From a compliance standpoint, I would say the authority, right? Because compliance comes down to you will have to do what I say, ultimately. I know that when I'm talking to you. But if I start with, you're going to have to do it, so you might as well just do it, that's really crappy. And it doesn't build a relationship. It's going to tear them down immediately, and they'll never come back up or be the same.
You know the best way to start a conversation with somebody that is inclined to hate your guts? Hi, I really need some help. Can I ask you a favor?
Yes.
Or help me seek to understand.
Yeah, and you've got something, you've told us we have to do something and I don't understand it. Can I ask you for an explanation, please? Would you mind? Can you spare me 5 minutes? Because people like to help other people.
Can I say something too?
Please.
All right, let's say you two you guys hate each other, right? You're not going to collaborate. The whole company's going to ground up all. Who's on the compliance team?
They were all a mixed team.
All right. Oh, okay. This is going to work then. What you then do is, if you're on one of those two sides, you find someone on the other side who's as fed up with that sort of inaction as possible, and you two start a mini revolution.
Yep.
Nothing subversive, but start collaborating, working together, and bridge that. What's going to happen is one of these guys will leave, and then they'll look at you, if you were that bridgehead, say, hey, can you step in and help us with this role?
So they'll go, hey, oh my God, we're so screwed because we haven't been compliant for 6 months and we don't have this. Oh, I've been looking at that. I've got something already worked out for that.
Right.
I didn't want to say anything, but if you need it, we can talk about it right now. How do you have that? Well, I've been talking to Jimmy over on the other side, and we've sort of worked something out. Do you want a presentation on it? Well, yeah. Okay, let's sit down. And you look like friggin' heroes.
Right.
You look like the Avengers come to life, man. So, 100%.
Being that boundary spanner is really good for the organization, really good for the team, really good for your career.
Yeah.
And I think here's a very good point. It's an in-person relationship.
Yeah,
yes.
Two people having a relationship, absolutely.
Yeah, the email or the phone call just doesn't quite work.
So you work for a consulting organization that goes to companies in trouble. How often do you need to go to that company and see somebody face to face?
They do it all the time.
Right? There's nothing that beats a face-to-face meeting. Otherwise, how are they going to hug you?
Yay.
There's nothing that beats a face-to-face meeting to build that relationship. This was the weirdest soft skills workshop I think you've probably ever been to.
This is great.
But I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed the hell out of this. This was fantastic.
I'm just surprised to hear your teaching
Well, those that do, and those.
And thank you, both of you. I think it worked out really well. I'm really proud of you all. I'm so happy you had this amazing crowd of executives. You literally don't know how lucky you are. You guys are awesome. Thank you again. Really, really awesome. And I know some of you that are out in the audience, that were in the teams could have done just as well. Don't get me wrong, but I'm really impressed. Was this good? Did you guys like this?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm really, this was so much fun for me, honestly. I'm actually tempted to do it at other conferences. Do you think other people would like it as well?
I don't think it's gonna be as good as this one, but yeah.
I think it's going to be hard, but what I'm going to do is I'm tempted to do it at my conference, B-Sides Delaware, and I'll do it at B-Sides DC. I told you about Mach 37, the accelerator I went through, and the murder boards? I'm going to invite those guys.
Bring them in.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And
They have no plans. You can't just have them show up as regular executives.
This one is the same, I know people that would be really good.
well, I'm going to try to run it at B-Sides Delaware and B-Sides DC, so that we can have a continuing thing going on. But I mean, if I can do that, if I can get really good executives, because you guys really made a difference. I got to tell you that. Really made a difference. This is awesome. But I think we're going to do more of this, because this is something we're lacking in the industry, in my opinion. We have people, how many of you have looked at somebody and goes, he's really good technically, or she's amazing technically, but they can't talk to people, oh my God. Right? Okay? And how many people that is said about have their careers stunted because of that?
Yeah, there's only so many key positions, right?
And I've talked about them as pizza slot geeks. You put them in a closet, you cut a hole in the door big enough to put a pizza and a 2-liter Mountain Dew through, and you nail the door shut. When they stop eating the pizza, just cement it in, okay? So, it's not polite, but we have some of those in the industry. What's that?
It's effective.
It's effective, yes, but it's kind of horrible. But in this industry, the better your soft skills are, the higher you can rise. You cannot get an executive position without being able to talk to people and make them understand what you were talking about. It is literally that simple. Okay? So, go ahead, question.
Oh, I was just going to offer, there are some executives that have very bad soft skills, but there are people they're at a startup. They started the company, they're a very technical person, and now they're fighting to call the CEO.
And by the time you're going,
companies won't go far unless they either learn the soft skills or bring in people to do it.
And when you go for your first round of venture capital, and you have your CTO, who's an amazing technologist, just like code flies out of her nose or whatever. But talking to people, she's just like, that's wrong. No, that won't work. And when you go in front of a venture capitalist who's like, okay, because you've got 30 seconds. Actually, you've got 7 seconds to catch a venture capitalist's attention. Literally, no joke. You have 7 seconds. You have to get your differentiator in the first 7 seconds of the talk. Are they going to work for you? Or is that going to screw your company? I know the answer. I think it is. All right. Any questions, comments, wisecracks, good jokes? No, not even. Thank you. You've been awesome. I really appreciate it.